uri tulikuwa tumeahidi imewadia. Imetimia. Congratulations Arsenal. 20 years later. You know, I was an Arsenal fan back then. 2024. I think I just started working.
2024?
2004.
Yes, 2004.
2004. That's the last time we won.
Yes.
Yes. Between then and now, kuna mtu amezaliwa akakuwa mkubwa, got married na sasa analea watoto.
Watoto wanamuuliza tu, kwani una support timu gani? Arsenal.
They have no clue what is Arsenal.
Washindangi hao.
Now I'm even learning the lyrics. It says, Leo silali, nikukesha mitungi na washa na choma, tena sijali, wameshinda yao yetu wataweza. Leo silali, nikukesha mitungi na washa na choma, tena sijali, yamewashinda yao yetu wataweza.
Biena kiruhusu tucheze hiyo ngoma at least.
Alafu najua leo kwanza ni muhimu kwa nini? Manu, ule wa Manu, ndio ako kwenye inaitwa aje? Fundi wa mitambo.
Decks. Ako on the decks. Sasa anasema he doesn't even play for KPFC.
Anaongea mambo mingi sana.
Zile siku Arsenal walikuwa wanachapwa. Yani hatukuwa tuna have peace on the show.
We've been humiliated.
We have suffered.
We've been mocked. Fans of Arsenal wameambiwa your team is white bottlers because they never get past. Failures. Or sijui ati we only have plastic cups. English Premier League finally iko nenda kuchukua sana. Alafu na jana ilikuwa premature. Man City wamengangana. They really tried. Congratulations to Man City. And if at all they have fans, I understand they have like 2 fans in Kenya.
Two?
Man City, congratulations to Man City. You tried, but Arsenal triumphed. All right, this is the morning cafe. No.
This is TV47 Breakfast.
TV47 Breakfast.
Wanasema enough of this crap? No, we are not going to do that.
Hata wale wako Thika Road side.
That one you're not going to tolerate.
We are going to celebrate the fact that people are back on the roads, even as we celebrate Arsenal, the great Arsenal. Yes, so yesterday, a lot of things happened. The matatu strike was called off. And you can see roads are busy, back to normalcy. Okay. Back to a sense of normalcy, we're not so sure, but we'll be having our reporter later on, Mudhoni Brenda, on the streets of Nairobi to tell us whether or not things are back to normal 100%. Matatu strike ilikuwa called off, and you can see Thika Road imeamka. Yeah, we'll be checking the traffic also. Tuone sababu watoto wamerudi shule, matatu zimerudi barabarani. It's back to business.
Absolutely.
This is the biggest talking point, but then again, I watched that statement, the press conference with the CSs and part of the team leading the strike. And I could see that ule jamaa wetu
with all due respect
was very excited.
Yes.
To announce that the strike had ended and we had a country to build, to rudi. Yet, your meeting ya jana did not produce anything. Waliambiwa tu mungoje for 1 week. Alafu, where did the excitement come from?
Something about fame and recognition. I think it messes up with your mind if it's something you're not used to.
Ile hasira alikuwa nayo the previous day. Where did it go? Yet, the previous day, at least they had been given some 10 shillings drop in the price of diesel. Yesterday, there was nothing offered at all.
Nothing.
Yet, the excitement on their faces, it was very interesting. So I don't know, at least on the face of it, we do not know if anything was offered on the face of it.
Because, you know, if they wanted a 10, if they received a 10 shillings drop, but they wanted a 46 shillings drop, So this 36 shillings, akuja kuwa na drop, any other drop?
Yes, because if at all there was a promise of further reduction, they would have said, yes, we guarantee of a further reduction. Or at least we've been offered this today. So they were excited, but they're not telling us what was offered. So very many questions still remain. Okay, what was the point?
Now Kenya wanawaambia, you know, yesterday we were also telling you guys what Kenyans are saying online. Today they're saying that you guys were paid. Now Mesaliti, you know, wengine.
We cannot prove that. Of course, those are allegations that we hear here and there, but we cannot prove any of that. So we stick to what we know so far. The fact that they were not offered anything new, but they came out and called off the strike, and they looked very happy to call off the strike yesterday. So anyway, congratulations, we're back to business. Watu walikuwa naumia, biashara ilikuwa imefunga, but sisi nani? 1 week, 7 days, zitaisha tu next week.
Interesting. Letu jicho tu, but we'll be there to...
All right, so this is one of the discussions we'll be having with our different guests today. Matters to do with the return to work, the strike that was called off, and the kind of effect it had on the economy for the 2 days or 1.5 days that the strike was on. Remember, you can be part of that conversation as well. TV47 Kenya on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, where we're streaming live, as well as X, TV47 Digital. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast.
Hashtag story ni yetu. My handle is at Annie_Dida.
Mine is at Freddy Ndebuli.
It is also International HR Day today. Talk to your HR nicely.
Mimi nataka kuambia HR tupatie break. Sisi watu Arsenal. Tumekaa miaka 20.
Yeah.
Tungeambiwa tu, by the way, leo endeni lunch mapema.
Stella, please. Please.
Madam unatusikiza.
Yes. All right. Let's take a look at the state of the weather. Tumesema it's International HR Day. It's also World Bee Day. So you're being encouraged to take conservation of bees.
Wale wa asali.
Yes, wale wa asali. Bee. Ulidhani nini?
Sasa nimeshangaa B, maybe the letter B.
Oh, B.
Najua siku hizi kuna kwanga na days too for the sake of days.
Yeah. For this, kama ile no socks day ulikataa, sio no socks day. That was actually a globally recognized day.
No socks day.
Yes.
Okay.
Ulikuwa unaambiwa go touch some grass. Tuangalie weather sasa. All right, Kericho, there will be thunders and showers today. This morning is 14 degrees, highs of 23 degrees expected there. Elgeyo Marakwet is a sunny day. Sunny day, but surprisingly, this morning is 10 degrees, but highs of 20 degrees expected there. Isiolo, it's sunny today. This morning is 20 degrees, highs of 31 degrees expected in Isiolo. That's Kericho, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Isiolo counties. Murang'a, there will be scattered thunderstorms, 17 degrees this morning, highs of 27 degrees. Kilifi, it's a sunny day today. This morning is 26 degrees, highs of 30 degrees. And Nairobi, it's also a partly sunny day today. This morning, it's 17 degrees, highs of 26 degrees in Nairobi today. And that's the state of the weather.
Acha tu nikwambie ukweli, weather kunyesha ama nini, today it cannot rain. Leo silali. Umeshika hiyo?
Finya kabisa.
I'm getting the tune right.
Yes.
Leo silali.
Yes. Nikukesha na what?
Kukesha mitungi na washa na choma. Nishashika.
Yes.
Mutati. Hey, I tell you. All right, let's come back and take a look at the newspapers, what they're talking about today. Hata ile inaitwa Pride of Africa. Kenya Airways. On the handle amesema the Arsenal fans in office tomorrow. Congratulations.
Asante.
This one, to be honest, I know I shouldn't push it too much, but ile kiburi iko ndani.
No, you push it.
I can't stop myself. Yeah, I can't. Manu, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. Leo mutati. Tuangalie magazeti sasa. A walking nation, this is what is there on the front page of the Standard. And they've done this on the front page. So they have this picture of Kenyans walking, and then pale chini, the president and the first lady coming down the steps of their chartered plane to Azerbaijan. And it's a tale of two realities. Nothing stands in the way of President William Ruto's taste for the finer things in life. Not citizens forced to trek for kilometers as they try to eke out a living, and not even relatives mourning loved ones shot by police during the two-day matatu protests. As he flies in private jets and cruises in the latest Mercedes-Benz, Governor Johnson Sakaja has been designated as a trustee in talks with transport sector players in the fuel price negotiations, while his cabinet secretaries lurch from one blunder to another. And the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, appears adrift amid the unfolding developments. So they've given this story quite the coverage. Wakimaliza wanasema, meanwhile, the president keeps flying. Remember that story on the Daily Nation about the kind of plane the president was using? It's a chartered plane, the kind of features it has. So 3.2 million shillings per flight hour.
Wow.
That's what the Standard says this flight costs. This is the estimated taxpayer cost of the private jet, according to globalcharter.com.
Whose cost?
Taxpayer. So the flight from Kenya to Azerbaijan, they put it at about 7 hours, 30 minutes. So if you calculate, it's about 25 million shillings there. According to the Standard, so they've covered this story extensively on pages 3, page 4, page 6, page 8, page 9, and page 10. Quite some coverage there of the matatu or transport crisis. But on the back page, walikuwa nyuma. Unajua on the back page of the Standard wanasema Arsenal on the brink of Premier League title after. Hii wangetoa tu because we feel this is a bit disrespectful.
Yes.
Yeah. We're now the champions. On the back page of the Standard.
Get with the program.
Huyo alilala mapema at Arsenal on the brink of Premier League title after Burnley win.
Ikosi ni wa Man U huyo.
Huyu ni kama
Astaki tu kuweka hapo Arsenal wameshinda.
Ni kama director wetu lakini wasijali. It changes nothing. Arsenal are the champions, English Premier League. Meanwhile, we keep showing you live pictures from major tributaries into the city. That's Thika Road. Imeanza kukua busy. A number of people trying to get back to their businesses. I can see a yellow bus, meaning schools are back as well. Lakini pesa ya mafuta bei ya mafuta haijapungua. Isipokuwa the 10 shillings that was offered and EPRA gave that addendum on Monday. Apart from that, no other reduction. But jana waki call off the strike, they were very excited.
Mambo yao hiyo.
That's the Standard today.
All right.
Let me just take you through the kind of headlines we have. Okondani, with all due respect, amepata story yake pale na page 3 ya Standard. Ruto's jet set lifestyle sparks fury as hustlers suffer on the ground. So they have a whole story about this jet that the president is using on his travels. He's yet to return home. I think he's coming back home today. Meanwhile, Gachagua hits at Ruto's priorities amid fuel crisis. Jana alichoma. He held a press briefing at around midday, and he was talking about, alisema ati ndege kuna spa ndani.
Spa?
Kama ile ya kupampa mtu spa.
Spa.
Spa. So as your flight is 7 hours, you can actually get. Lakini hiyo ni Gachagua alisema tujui. Hustlers pay heavy price for transport chaos. That's another one. Traders count huge losses as strike hits food and fuel supply. Innocent lives lost as police bullets. Chaos mar fuel price hikes. They say about 6 people, at least 12 people are killed. 12 people are killed and more than 20 others are seriously injured through police gunfire. That's a story on page 8. PSV strike disrupts healthcare. Patients walk to hospitals is another headline. Behind the scenes talks, betrayal, and how strike was suspended. So according to this story, they suggest that even the representatives of the matatu operators may have betrayed their members.
You know, interestingly, I wanted to say it tukianza show. Last week I was having this conversation with one of the leaders, you know, in the border sector, and that is exactly what he said. That most of the time, you know, they're downing their tools to pass a message, you know, to the government for one reason or the other. But the outcome of these talks are usually betrayal, you know, from their leaders.
Yes. Like this story says, if you read this story, it says that the leaders, and there are quite a number representing different groups, had gone for a meeting.
Yes.
But then when they got there, they realized there had been another meeting an hour before.
Wow.
Yeah. And things had been decided already. So wale wanasema, hata sikuambiwa kuna mkutano. Anyway, but that's according to the story on page 10 of the Standard. They also talk about EPRA, the authority that reviews and sets the price of fuel every month. And wanasema it's ceding too much ground to the executive. Yeah? And they're saying it's the CSS and the president who set the price of fuel and not EPRA. That's the Standard today. It's coverage of the fuel protests that ended yesterday.
Page 15, they talk about finance bill. They're asking for accountability. That finance bill debate is only half the story. Kenyans want to know exactly how their money is spent. Interestingly, tonight, TV47 will be hosting the CS for Treasury to talk about finance bill. Sheila Chelangat will be hosting that particular town hall later on in the night.
So make a date with TV47 later on.
All right. Tuangalie gazeti la Taifa Leo. Walivyozima mgomo ndio habari kuu katika ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Wanaita mwafaka. Serikali kwa upande wake ilitaka mgomo huo uishe haraka kutokana na athari zake kwa uchumi wa nchi, mbali na kuhofia kuwa ungeibua hisia sawa na zilizochangia maandamano ya Juni mwaka 2024. Nao wadau katika sekta ya uchukuzi walishikilia msimamo wao kuwa bei ghali ya mafuta inavuruga kabisa biashara yao. Kule John anasema yafichuka mazungumzo yalifanyika chini ya shinikizo kali la kisiasa na kiuchumi. Waziri Kipchumba Murkomen amenukuliwa hapa akisema palikuwapo haja ya kufanya mazungumzo ya kiwango cha juu na wadau wa sekta ya uchukuzi na yatafanyika katika muda wa juma moja lijalo. Mgomo umesitishwa, lakini walisema prices za wanahitaji za gari bus fare. Wakiongeza tuambieni.
On Friday they had already increased the bus fare by 50% almost.
Sasa wameambiwa saa hii because they called off that strike that they should not add bus fare. They should not increase it. Kama wanaongeza ya kwenu jamani tuambie hapo. Tuanike hapa.
How much are you paying for commuters? How much are you paying as bus fare this morning as you head to work? Yeah.
It's not only how much are you paying, is it more than what you usually pay?
Is it different from what you're paying? Because our cameraman says he paid double.
Oh, wow. That is mteri.
Alipa double kutoka kwenye anaishi kuja kazini.
Pole sana.
Interesting.
Vidokezo zaidi, kilimo cha uyoga nacho kinalipa vizuri, ni habari nyingine hapo. Uyoga ni nini? Wanasema kutana na Wakenya. Mushroom. Okay. Mzozo waanika wataalamu wa ODM katika serikali. Mawaziri Mbadi na pia Wandae wajipata pabaya kuhusu mzozo wa bei ghali za mafuta, ni habari katika ukurasa wa pili. Arsenal mambo ni bambam ligini EPL. Vijana wa Arteta wakaribia kushinda taji.
Wakaribia.
Wacha.
Wewe heshima tafadhali.
Koma, acha hata niachie hiyo hapo. Hiyo nimeachia hapa, hata sitaendelea.
Actually newspapers go to sleep very early, go to press probably 2 hours before midnight.
Yes.
But for this one they should have left it. Wache tu mtu mmoja wa sports angoje mechi kisha aseme champions.
Yes.
Yeah? Hivyo ndio unaheshimu timu kubwa. Lakini ukaenda ukalala. Leo silali anyway.
Kule juu zaidi, hofu Kenya, vifo vya Ebola DRC vikifika 131, that is 131. Shirika la WHO la hofia virusi hatari zitaenea kwingi upesi, na vile vile meli ghali ya mihadarati kuharibiwa. Taifa Leo.
Right. From Taifa Leo, let's focus on the front page of the Daily Nation. And the good thing with the Daily Nation, it breaks down some of the margins, especially the taxation that is levied on a liter of fuel. Yeah, so they say the headline is how states can lower fuel prices. Yeah, heavy taxation has worsened matters at a time global prices have skyrocketed due to US-Israel war in Iran. And we said, yes, indeed, it's true to a huge level. The US-Israel war in Iran has affected global fuel prices. But back home, the raft of taxes that are imposed on just 1 liter of fuel are quite a number, and they've broken them down here. The landed cost of fuel for a liter of petrol is 117 shillings. Yeah, hiyo ndio imefika. Mafuta imekuja, diesel is 167. Lakini sasa ukianza storage and distribution wanaongeza. Wakienda importers margin anaongeza shilingi 6. Dealers margin 11. Excise duty sasa unaanzia hapo 21 shillings 95 cents. Road maintenance levy 25 shillings. Petroleum development levy 5 shillings. Hivyo. Import declaration fee another 2.8. Then value added tax 15 shillings. So for a liter of petrol, which now retails at about 214 shillings for a liter, imagine the landed cost is 117, meaning that the rest ni margin za watu, taxes, na huyu dealer atapata nini, huyu atapata nini. So 96 shillings. Iko tu hapo katikati.
Yes, extra. It's hanging literally.
Yes, sasa hiyo ni pesa ya nani ule ameleta atapata nini, KPA watapewa nini, excise duty nini, fuel levy, which I think is the highest at 25 shillings. Yeah.
Na tuko na G2G.
Yes, tuko na G2G. Probably that's why we get at 117. But yeah, hata kama bei imepanda, watu wanasema easy, and according to this paper wanasema this is what we should look at. 96 shillings hapa. Ndio tuangalie hapa. Yeah.
Ebu imagine if maybe we did an open tender system. Would we be here now?
The risk, according to the government, is that yes, probably because sometimes it keeps rising and falling. So we'd be open to harsher prices when the fuel prices globally go up. So they said with the G2G in a balance, but kweli in a balance.
Oh, money in a balance.
So they say it's a balancing act with international oil prices well beyond the government's control and the fuel subsidy kitty all but exhausted. Petroleum taxes and margins enjoyed by all marketing companies will become the focal point for state negotiators seeking to appease public sector transport operators. Yes, wanasema let's focus. na hizi vitu mnalipisha after fuel ishafika Kenya. Yeah. They've also given quite some coverage to this, the same as a standard, pages 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 and 13. Let me just take you through some of the headlines linked to that because it's still the biggest talking point. States limited options as it seeks to lower fuel prices within 7 days. As they promised, 7 days. Will they really come back to the negotiating table? How fuel crisis exposed ODM experts. Sasa hiyo ni
Yes.
Treasury iko na expert. Energy iko na expert. Alafu hao ndio wakiletwa pamoja fuel crisis.
Interesting.
Haya. Businesses count losses after strike that we've looked at in a different story. They have a photos on pages 10 of children walking to work. The number of people who are arrested and are taken to court in different towns. Matatus parked na price ya diesel 233 shillings. Experts, transporters call off strike to allow for further talks. Hiyo tushaona. So yes, mpaka kuna hata OCS alijipata taabani baada ya ku-release watu wale walikuwa wameshikwa. Shida ni mingi.
Yes.
Lakini hiyo ya experts, alafu unauliza swali, experts, fuel crisis exposes CSs. Yeah. So that's a very interesting story there. Other quick highlights on the front page away from matters fuel. Court orders destruction of drugs vessel, which is a big one. An Iranian vessel with meth valued at 8.2 billion shillings will be destroyed over fears of security breaches. 8.2 billion shillings worth of meth. Ebola deaths in DRC hit 131. And Kenya draws South Africa in 2027 AFCON qualifiers. These are the main stories on the front page of the Daily Nation. On the back page is more about local liga. Wamewachana na mambo ya Arsenal. Arsenal kule ndani. Lakini hapa it's more about road to East Africa. Harambee Stars coach McCarthy set for reunion with South Africa. And that's the Daily Nation. All
right, tuangalie People Daily because headline in a match na here Daily Nation. How states' appetite for taxes created fuel crisis. They say cost of government's addiction to taxes in hidden charges and securitized levies deepen country's debt burden and take a toll at the pump. It's just what you're talking about, that hidden charges and securitized levies. That 96 shillings that is hanging somewhere. And they also talk about the taxes, the levies that, we're already paying. They say that excise duty at 21 shillings 95 cents per litre of petrol and 11 shillings 37 cents per litre of diesel. The levies, the road maintenance levy, which at 25 shillings per litre is the largest single levy increased from 18 shillings in July 2024. It is meant to fund road repairs. The petroleum development levy, the import declaration fee of 3 shillings and 50 cents, which covers import documentation. There is also the anti-adulteration levy of 18 shillings per litre. Mlijua hiyo iko kweli? I think hiki cha adulteration ilikuja juzi when we, tukaambiwa people sometimes mix kerosene na diesel or kerosene na super petrol.
Especially
because
diesel.
Kerosene is cheaper.
Yeah. No wonder wakaongeza bei ya mafuta taa jana.
Yes. They also talk about the railway development levy of 2 shillings and 10 cents per litre. This funds the standard gauge railway to help transport goods. And of course, the petroleum development levy of 75 cents to fund the operations of the regulator, EPRA, and the merchant shipping levy of 3 cents per litre to fund maritime safety and port regulation. Freda ameisema vizuri sana. It amounts to 96 shillings, which is hanging somewhere. Other quick headlines here. Inside Gachagwa's push to make Ruto a one-term president. That one is on page 8. TSC unable to meet financial obligations according to an audit. And Tharaka Nithi's leap from the shadows of the highlands. That's another story on page 13. And that's the People Daily. All
right, from the People Daily, let's take a look at the Star. Same story on the front page of the Star. Matatu operators call off boycott as state seeks way out. A photo there of a motorcyclist akipita one of those barricades kwa barabara. Now at least the roads have reopened. Quite a number of Kenyans walking to work or to their other businesses. Alafu kuna ile picha pale ya CSs wamekubaliana na Kennedy Kaunda. Ule jamaa with all due respect.
Wamekubaliana na Kennedy Kaunda.
Amemsalamia pale kwa mkono. It's like yes, they've struck a deal. What deal? We still do not know.
Yeah.
Your handshake inakaa hapo inawashiria, you know, this gentleman walikuja after CS Wandai spoke the first day on Monday. Immediately akasema, with all due respect, we've not agreed on anything. Kinijana, this photo is very important. Kennedy Kaunda cannot say he was not a part of the meeting now, because now he's shaking the hand of CS Wandai. So wamuulize mulikubaliana nini? Now that you've gone back to the roads, mulikubaliana nini? So Ruto, tough options: reduce fuel taxes, slow development. So those are the options. Actually, all the papers are looking at the taxation now. EO 96 for petroleum. Now for diesel, I think it's about 64 shillings. EO, hapo ndio kila kitu. Watu wanasema ndio, wachana na Strait of Hormuz. Let's come back and take a look at these taxes. Hapo. Na serikali inasema, ai, hapo ni ngumu. Yes. So that's the main story. Back page, diaspora gamble matters, football, AFCON coming up. Yes, and the typical traffic jams are back on Thika Road. This is very close to the Muthaiga interchange. Nimesema tu ni karibu na Muthaiga interchange. Watu wa nini? By the way, let me tell you, leo mutati. I can tell you are in pain if you're not an Arsenal fan. But then again, when you look at serious matters like the traffic jam, at least this is back to normalcy. People are going back to work. It just happens to coincide with Arsenal's win. So, but it's nice to see the city coming back to life. Watu wakifanya biashara zao, kila mtu apate, kila mtu aweze kulisha familia yake. So this is something positive. Now get into the Muthaiga interchange, and kama kawaida, there's a lot of traffic there, and we'll be getting an update from our reporter Muthoni Brenda on just how the city looks. This is main tributary into Nairobi, Thika Road. Maeneo yote ya the eastern side of Kenya wengi wanatumia hapa. Wale wengine wa Mombasa Road will be checking what's happening there, as well as Waiyaki Way and other routes that lead to the city. But on Thika Road, back to life. All right.
Tuangalie Business Daily sasa. Court orders state to reveal secret SGR deals with China. That's a story that has been captured on page 5. That the government has lost a bid to keep secret the Chinese loan agreements, operational deals and procurement records linked to the 600 billion shilling standard gauge railway line between Mombasa and Nairobi. And this follows a Court of Appeals decision upholding orders requiring the PS in the Ministry of Transport and the PAs at the Treasury and the Attorney General to release the documents, opening the door to fresh public scrutiny of Kenya's debt obligations and dealings between Nairobi and Beijing. Iran war hits Kenyans with 25 billion shillings fuel bill as transport strike called off. Sasa anasema, according to this newspaper, that Kenyans will have spent additional 25 billion shillings on fuel in the 2 months to June 14, highlighting the impact of US President Donald Trump's war on Iran on households and business budgets. Ya kwamba motorists and households will spend an additional 25 billion shillings between April 15 and June 14. Motorists and nani? Households. Know the government, you. Now, the fallout from the Iran war is driving inflation to its highest level and creating a growing political problem for President William Ruto in the wake of protest and a nation public transport strike that was posted yesterday for 7 days. That is according to Business Daily this morning.
Right. Tuvuke boda tuangalie watu wanazungumzia nini kwingine, because Kenya ni masuala ya mafuta and the protests that happened or ended yesterday, the strike by matatu operators, now we're getting back to normal. But in Uganda, they're still talking about the speaker, the outgoing speaker of the parliament, Anita Among. So the Daily Monitor wanasema final sweep na wameka mlango ya speaker, imeandikwa crime scene. So a cleaner who was acting on the instructions of outgoing Speaker Ms. Anita Among reportedly removed all her belongings a day before the detectives raided her office at Parliament and labelled it a crime scene. This story has been given coverage on page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 of the Daily Monitor. That's how important this story is. People cannot believe in Uganda that Anita Among anapata shida sasa. She was one of the... Hata mimi nashangaa. I didn't know it was to Anita Among kutunda president kila mahali. Now she's not in good terms with the president. Wow. She's been told she cannot run for speaker again because the president and the top ranks of the NRM wamesema they want someone else. Anaitwa Oboth.
Wow. And we all know kama uko bad side ya Museveni, what happens to you?
Napata shida. It's the same story on the front page of New Vision. Among 30 MPs on police radar. CID Comms ex-speaker's office has banned barred from leaving the country. Yani shida zikikuanzia, shida tupu. And you can see offices there in Parliament as DCI officers in Uganda sweep through the offices of this outgoing speaker. So in Uganda, it's just among other stories, yeah. Twende Tanzania. In Tanzania, we start off with ni kama hii Tanzania siwaoni hiyo magazeti ya Tanzania yameenda wapi? Mwananchi, The Citizen, Tanzania to tighten defense as global threats increase. Masuala ya majeshi wa Tanzania. That considers facial palm recognition technology to widen BRT. That's a bus rapid transport. So The Citizen is basically talking about infrastructure. Hata story nyingine hapo, Samia calls for African nuclear unity. So on the front page of The Citizen in Tanzania, they're just talking about infrastructure development. On gazeti la Mwananchi, kibarua kigumu tume la jaji Lila. Ni hadithi ambayo sielewi vyema, lakini afya ya Tundu Lissu ambaye kujela yazigonganisha Chadema na magereza. Tundu Lissu anafanya nini jela hadi sasa? Magazeti ya Tanzania.
All right. Turudi tuangalie caricature kwanza, yes, and then we take a look at the feedback. Sababu tulikuwa tumewauliza on our socials, has transport resumed in your area after the matatu strike?
Na pia utueleze wanalipa pesa ngapi?
Yes. How is the situation? Yeah, tuambie. Tuangalie caricature? Tuangalie
caricature, we start off with the Daily Nation. Kuna mlango hapo ya Kenya Kwanza, mikono inatoka inaenda kwa ile fuel, not fuel, ile ya kuzima moto. In case of incompetence, blame who? Uhuru and the opposition. That's their go-to. According to this cartoonist, government officials are very quick to blame Uhuru and the opposition every time they're caught in a crisis.
Yeah.
Hata Murkomen alikuja akasirika akasema kwa nini hamkufanyia Uhuru hivi? That was the funniest I ever saw. CS coming out to say, oh, why are you demonstrating? Why are you going on strike? Yeah. How come you did not go on strike during Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure? That was Murkomen. Okay, hata sijui tuseme. That's a cartoon on the Daily Nation.
All right, tuangalie the one on the Star. Bado inazungumzia hiyo matters feel. With all due respect, you have a week. He has made it. He's even in the caricature.
Alifurahi jana wakikolo strike. I doubt that he'll be there 1 week later to even remind us of the meeting or the negotiations. Huyu vile alikuwa anaonekana jana. Alifurahia sana, akasalamiana. It's like they've already struck a deal. So what's the point of waiting for 7 days? With all due respect.
Yeah.
The one on the Standard, same thing, but this one talks about the economy, basically inflation. So kuna familia hapo, the father, a son and the mom just walking under a scorching sun, which is exorbitant fuel prices. So same story, leading to a rise in inflation. Yes, definitely, even though the strike was called off, the fuel prices still remain high. So nothing has changed for the common mwananchi. Nothing has changed so far, apart from the 10 shillings reduction that was given by the ministry on Monday. Nothing else has changed. Yes.
All right.
That's the question. Watu walikuwa wamefurahia nini sana jana?
Yes. Unajua Kenya pia wanauliza, okay, what was the purpose for, that strike? Ilikuwa achieved, whatever you guys wanted.
They were hoping that after the strike, the go slow, that after that, at least fuel prices will go down. They'll go down at least 10 shillings. Ilisaidia.
Wekoma. Unatumia diesel kwa gari yako.
Mimi natembea kuja kazini.
Okay, tuangalie feedback sasa. Has transport resumed in your area? How's the situation? Fare imepanda ama vipi? All right, Vincent Shiembesta anasema, I live in the village where we are rarely affected because of motorbikes. I have had some buses hooting, meaning we are back to normal. That's good. Winnie anasema yes. Amesema tu yes. Lynn pia amesema yes. All right, I'm assuming it's back to normalcy in your area. John Blessed Favor anasema hiked fares, Joska Nairobi. Joska to Nairobi, 200 Kenyan shillings.
200, one way.
Akasema God help us. Yenye God should help you. 200 Kenyan shillings.
Nimesikia mmoja anasema they are not really affected because they're in the rural areas and they use mostly motorbikes. But even motorbikes use petrol.
Yes.
And the prices of petrol moved from 196 shillings to 214.
Director anasema ati unaweza tumia kerosene kwa motorbike.
Jaribu kuweka kerosene kwa hiyo pikipiki yako uone vile.
Wewe director wewe.
But lakini siku hizi kuna zile zinatumia stima.
Oh yeah.
But unajua EPRA also added the price of a unit of electricity. by 4 shillings and 40 cents for 1 kilowatt hour. Yes. So hata kama una charge by scale, pikipiki na stima, ama unatumia petroli, even they have increased their fares.
Richie Sniper anasema back to normal. Musioka, yeah, already at work, all is well, that is nice. Joshua Mbaby anasema yes. Mosia amesema yes. Franklin pia amesema yes. Titus anasema matatu cannot withstand a strike. They are monos, 1.5 a day and they call off. This is funny. Oh yeah. What Gunga anasema with doubled fare, with doubled. Ntere pia alituambia ili double. Simon pia atuambie yake ilikuwa vipi. Simon De Peter anasema Kisumu has been okay, no strike, everything has been moving on smoothly. Lakini fare iko aje, petrol I mean.
Hata basi ukienda Kondele, how much are you spending from those areas?
Positive Nancy anasema who will save Kenyans from the hiked fares? We are out. Amesema salaries increased. Sijaelewa, but I'd love to believe that is what you mean. Gitao Gideon anasema yes, Nairobi to thicker normalcy returns. And these are just some of your feedback, and we encourage you to keep sending them.
Yes.
At TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X at TV47 Digital. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast.
Hashtag story ni yetu. You can also tag us at Freddy Ndimuli on X.
My handle is at Annie_Dida.
We keep sharing live images. Right now, I think our cameras are along Outer Ring Road here in the city. Not so bad this morning. Outer Ring Road looks a bit easy. And this is a section heading from Umoja towards Manyanja. The ones on the left using the service lane are the ones using the interchange towards town. Traffic here usually is a bit busy for those who are heading to Jogoo Road and eventually into town. But ni kama tunaenda pole pole leo because it's about 6:35. Ni kama watu wajamka sana, but you can see pale juu kwa bridge kuna magari na watu bado wanatembea, so quite a number of people. But the next one moving from Donholm towards Jogoo Road, quite some traffic there. Matatus are back on the road. So that's a traffic situation, not so bad, but the country is slowly returning to normalcy.
All right. Story ni yako, story ni yangu.
Story ni yetu.
I'll see you after the break.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikikunyuma.
Oh my God. You left me.
Nitumie ni live. Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tangu lini kero umeka kwa beauty product?
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
You won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
Link Up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
Stay fresh, stay safe.
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that a hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in East and Central Africa and its environs.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu
Astronaut
ni system.
Tuesdays, 3:30 p.m. on TV47.
The decision by public transport stakeholders to suspend the public service vehicle strike for 1 week and allow dialogue on the fuel pricing model was marred by hardening positions, but the government finally gave in to reduce the price of diesel by 10 shillings, averting another costly nationwide shutdown marked by chaos. The move comes amid continued pressure from stakeholders who are demanding a reduction of up to 46 shillings per litre.
That there was need for negotiations between the government and the stakeholders at a high level, and that those negotiations must be undertaken within the next 1 week. That in the interceding period between now and Tuesday, 26th May of 2026, that the strike that is ongoing is suspended for a period of 1 week.
Indeed, we have got a white smoke. We have had very, very candid deliberations.
With all due respect,
it took the intervention of President William Ruto and his deputy Kithure Kindiki through virtual calls after the government's initial proposal to reduce diesel prices by 2 shillings was rejected.
With all due respect, and the respect that we have been given today here, that the strike has been suspended.
We want to urge our members, wherever they are, to go back to work. We've come up with something whereby next week I think there'll be something coming up.
As much as we would have been happy to say that we got the 46 shillings that we were seeking, We are also glad that at least negotiations have started in earnest.
The talks dragged on until the government improved the offer to a 10-shilling reduction, although stakeholders are still insisting on a 36-shilling cut.
Last night's reduction by 10 shillings on the cost of diesel per litre alone took some 2.7 billion shillings.
The entry of Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja into Tuesday's talks is said to have softened hardline positions due to the relationship he enjoys with public transport stakeholders.
There are certain limitations of what we can do, but in the next few days you will see. And I have promised them as their as their friend and their guarantor that we shall sit at the highest level to resolve this pain that Kenyans are feeling.
President William Ruto, who is currently in Kazakhstan, is expected to jet back into the country on Thursday and chair a cabinet meeting on the fuel crisis on Friday before meeting public transport stakeholders on Saturday. Despite the announcement on the suspension of the strike coming late in the day, a sense of normalcy has returned in the streets of Nairobi, meaning for millions of Kenyans reporting to their workplaces and businesses on Wednesday, the economy is back on its feet despite the losses incurred. Apol Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Yes, a sense of normalcy has returned to most cities and towns across Kenya. The roads in and around the city are full, and traffic jams already reported on the main tributaries, Thika Road, Mombasa Road and Waiyaki Way, all heading into the CBD. People eager to return to work, but some are reporting that bus fares and commuter fares have been doubled in very many different areas. We want to look at the dailies today, and of course the biggest discussion is what happens next. After the strike by matatu operators and public sector transport operators yesterday, what happens next? Where does the discussion move to? Because the fuel prices were not reduced any further, even as they called off the strike. For this conversation this morning, we're privileged to have Dr. Peter Mbaye, who's the Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs at DCP. Karibu sana, Dr. Mbaye. Daniel Orogo, political analyst, joins us as well. Karibu sana, Orogo.
Pleasure.
And we also have Alexander Riithi, who's the head of programs at TISA. And TISA is, let me get it right, the Institute for Social Accountability. He's an economist by trade. Karibu sana, Alexander.
Thank you for having me.
If you look at the Daily Nations now, the Daily Nation, it focuses on the other taxation after fuel has landed in Kenya. And they've broken down this very well. They say landed cost of a litre of petrol is 117. But by the time it gets to the pump, it is 214 shillings. So about 96 shillings in between. Yeah, of course, everyone understands that geopolitics, US-Israel war on Iran definitely has played a part in the skyrocketing fuel prices. But it is this 96 shillings that Kenyans are concerned with. They're saying, okay, fine, 96 shillings? Definitely you can do something. Why do you feel that there's a lot of reluctance from the government side to cede ground? Because they keep on saying, okay, fine, we appear to be in a corner, we can't move any further.
Thanks so much, Fred. First of all, our condolences to the families of those who lost their loved ones, who are shot dead by police. Again, a very bad issue where police always have to kill someone. Others who are in hospital, many people with gunshot wounds. And of course, many young people also who were arrested, some of them innocent, out of all these places across the country. Having said that, Fred, I want to believe and hope that, as per what was agreed yesterday, there will be no hike in fares, because the transport industry took the lead in this the protest. The United Opposition was not in it, but we were supporting it. It's good to go on record. But then, for the 7 days they asked for, we hope there will be no increase in fares. Doesn't mean that only those people who are using public transport are affected. Everybody is affected by the hikes. But we said, since they are taking the lead, let's give them that balance of time. Of course, we are coming there because going forward, I think, Fred, what we have discovered will not allow just one sector to be in charge of all these kind of, if it's a protest. It has to be multi. let's get everybody on board, Gen Zs, the opposition, everybody, so that there will be no one people who will be called for negotiations, because it's not a one sector thing. Fuel affects everybody. Actually, all the motorists. I mean, everybody. Then it goes back to the increase of prices. So it is everything. So one thing we have learned very quickly: we will not allow a few people, to be called, and then they say we are done. It's a whole economy thing. So we are looking forward towards next week. We are consulting as the united opposition, so that it can be a everybody thing. It's not a one sector. Whereby
we should anticipate more probably street protests.
I can tell you, Fred, if we allow this thing to pass, this government wants to fatigue people, right? So if we allow this, and because they're the ones who asked for 7 days, what I can tell you here is that we have seen the president is back on Thursday. It's okay. We elected him. Friday he does a cabinet meeting. He meets these people. We are going to see whether the deal has been met. And it's very clear, like you have said, the figures we have given them. They keep asking, what are your alternative, policies we are giving? It's very clear. And we said, remove 1, 2, 3, 4. You ask a question, why are they reducted? And that's where the problem is. Fred, all this issue has very little to do with the war. Why? The war is international. What happens is that governments cushion their people. Because COVID came, we had Uhuru Kenyatta step in. There were issues of fuel last time, you remember, because of that Ukraine-Russia war. But I remember he had some subsidies went up to 50 shillings per litre and even more during Uhuru's time. So what we are saying is not something unique. The only problem we have, and Fred is good to say, is that there are people who are taking advantage of the Iran war to now come and tell you because of the Iran war, we must hike the prices. But they are benefiting privately. That is where the problem is. Right. Taxes, but also private benefit in this issue of fuel. That's why in Kenya it's very dangerous. And that's why we are telling the president, please come back to what you said yourself. And by the way, Fred, the president cannot run away from what he said when he was a deputy. This issue of what I call dishonesty in politics has to come to an end. Yes. Did you say this? Please, man, you cannot run away from your word. So for us, we are saying why this cannot work is a lot of vested interest. Look at the cost of landed, the landed cost of fuel. They say G2G, but the few companies who have been allowed to import, they share profits with some very senior people in government. That is why we have a problem with all this. Right. Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, they are able to cushion their people. So we cannot continue with the same way. And the only language people can understand, Kenyans, please don't get fatigued, because if you get fatigued now, you're going to get finished. So we are waiting for the 7 days. Want to see what to do, and I'm happy. I think we are coming back to this specifically. What can be done?
But this discussion, Orogo, is one because everything is open about what extra charges are levied on a litre of fuel once it's landed. But it would appear that there's paralysis in the leadership in this country. That once the president is out of the country, no decision can be made on this. It would appear that even the matatu operators are convinced that once the president comes back, then probably there will be some headway in this discussion. Why do you think that is? The National Assembly has not even found it fit to go back from recess for a special session to discuss these prices.
Good morning, Fred, and good morning to our viewers. Again, I think it's important to once again clarify that indeed you've pointed out to more of a micromanaged leadership at the national level when it comes to making a hefty decisions like this, saving a country out of a crisis when the president is out. Well, I think it's an evidence of what we've been talking about, having a grip in political power and administrative power. It is confirmed that I think I saw over the news, there are calls that were made, there were consultations that were withheld until he comes back. I think there was even a call that was done virtually, which of course should stamp an authority. Once a leader is able to talk to, the subordinates with virtual or in person, that could be a decision that is made. But beyond that, let me first of all chime in and say the following. I am seeing the splash, and like you've alluded to, the taxes. Said how the state can lower the fuel prices. The landing cost, once the landing cost is 117.82, and then all the taxes are levied, it goes to a retail price of 214. a chunk of these taxes are spent on logistics, if you can observe, and international, distributed and logistics. So one of the things that has, made me very surprised is that the only cost that probably is rationalized, which is at its lowest, is storage and distribution, but then there is no price stabilization or subsidy, zero. That shows you that there is a crisis ahead. That a number of taxes, a number of levies are on international distribution and logistical movement. And there is zero anti-adulteration levy, which means that we might suffer some of us might go to a petrol station and you are served with a fuel that is not probably at a quality. So these are fears. These are really fears. It shows what you're asking, that was there a real discussion around cushioning mwananchi, out of fuel prices. And I can say that we have a temporary, this was more of a choreographed conversation. Because if this is the aftermath of discussion that was held yesterday, for the better part of yesterday, then I can guarantee you that you'll break down in less than a week. Because I generally do not see those who guaranteed this conversation exactly what really came out of this conversation that is quite tangible. So I see this very fragile conversation here that was, I don't know whether it was because to manage the crisis temporarily, I don't know what.
Just wait for the president to come back.
Probably just to wait for the president to come back and, hold a grip on this conversation. Always a one-man show, which of course is not good for a country, that there is separation of powers, there's distribution of duties, and actually people that should be held accountable with their various positions.
Do you, for example, understand the reluctance of the National Assembly to actually have a special sitting to discuss the crisis, because it had gotten to that level? It's a nationwide crisis.
No, we always have a national crisis at this time at the National Assembly. And my friend Peter has just actually mentioned that we are having a problem in the crisis again of a budgetary allocation and distribution of, discussion around the budget, the finance, bill as we go by. And you see, the cloud and the confusion around finance bill always starts at this time. And all these, levies and these taxes, probably you'll find that they hinge towards the finance bill, towards, making a decision that is probably proposed in the discussion of finance bill. But this is where the parliament again, I can definitely say that it seems that even the parliament had to be compelled. The parliament, is Mwananchi actually pushing the parliament to come to terms and reconvene, because I meant to understand they're on recess.
Yeah, on recess.
And right now, something like this could have been, the leader of majority and minority in the House could have actually made a declaration without getting orders from somewhere, or without a push from somewhere to reconvene the parliament to discuss this conversation.
Let's get from an economic standpoint, because up until now, CSs have said this is an international problem. Whatever stories we're talking about here, those are local discussions. We cannot solve an international issue with the local discussions here. But are we being simplistic in looking at this raft of taxes that amount to 96 shillings, and we say, okay, fine, probably there's space here for some relief?
Thank you, and it's good to see that the Daily Nation has done that analysis. Yesterday and the day before, we spent a good deal of time trying to do our own analysis and look at what can be done. And looking at the raft of taxes that have been mentioned here, let me just look at my document. There are some taxes that would be difficult for government to do anything about at the moment in the short run. For instance, the first tax that would be difficult would be the import duty, because we are within the East African Customs Union, where the import duty for the East African community is decided together. So that would be a challenge at the moment, unless then you do it here and then request the East African Assembly to ratify that. But these other taxes, we can do something about them. We can reduce excise, because this is a national legislation. We can also even reduce the petroleum development levy, or even put a stop to it for some time to give Kenyans some relief. The railway development levy we can do something about. But now let me come to road maintenance levy. This is 25 shillings to the litre. But remember, this is where we have already taken a loan against this particular levy. So 7 shillings out of the 25 goes into repayment of the securitization we took to repay our pending bills. So that means that even if we were to reduce these, we only have 18 shillings room, because we can't reduce the 7 shillings that we have to repay. And these are the challenges that we've been talking about, that Kenyans now, if you thought debt is not a problem to you, you are actually now facing it right here, because even if government wanted to scrap the road maintenance levy, it is not possible, because the 7 bob is already tied to a loan. But these others, it is possible to actually reduce them. Even the VAT, it's possible to bring it down to 0 in the short run, to ensure that then we give some relief to Kenyans until when the landing cost goes down. So, but basically when you look at what we have with our petroleum sector, comparing ourselves and say Uganda, our market is not liberalized. We control the prices. When you go to Uganda, what happens is they allow the petrol stations to determine the prices that at which they're going to have at the pump. Basically, it is like what, let me give an example with a Kenyan commodity, like cement, for instance. Let me just use that as an example, or unga. When you pick your cement or unga from the factory, depending on your logistical costs, that will determine the price at which you will give to the final consumer. That is where you'll find that cement, say here in Nairobi, would be slightly cheaper compared to cement in a place like, say, Lodwar or Mandera, for instance, because the logistics cost is much higher. But what we do in Kenya for petroleum products, we determine the prices. And some of these levies that we have make it difficult for the Kenyan government to determine where the prices will be, because you've already fixed some of these costs, like now the road maintenance levy, I'm saying. And now, if now we proceed now with the debt acquisition in the manner that we are doing, and we tie some of these levies, it makes it very difficult for us to make any change.
Then what is the role of EPRA? If at all now, these decisions are left to the president and to the executive, this is supposed to be an authority that is independent of that discussion at that level, that they set the prices here. But if at all the executive has gotten into debt, then it renders EPRA null and void.
Now, this is where now we have a problem of public participation and the problem of neutering institutions that are supposed to function. Because in my view, actually these problems should not be at the doorsteps of the president, in my view. The people who should be pushing very hard is Parliament, because all these taxes are legislated by Parliament. And if you are going to make any changes, it's not the president, it's Parliament eventually. So if Parliament would have come out and said, wait a minute, we have a problem here, let us reduce, for instance, when we securitized the road maintenance levy, it is Parliament that increased this levy from 18 shillings to 25 shillings. So Parliament cannot run away from this problem. And the problem that we have is a situation where now the executive has neutered all the other institutions, and now everybody is waiting to hear what the president is going to say. I am surprised that Parliament has actually allowed itself to be taken over, because it is the only guardrail that we have as a people, because they are the ones who are supposed to represent our views and even our struggles as Kenyans. But now what has happened, Kenyans have been left on their own to deal with this monster called government. Parliamentarians are nowhere because they have been swiped away by the executive.
If the president, once the president comes back, and that's where we expect that there could be a relief, because he'll have to make a decision on a few things. It is the same numbers, the taxation, that he could tinker with. But for him to do that, he has to go to the National Assembly. Yeah, do you think even the National Assembly is just waiting for the president for indecision to happen?
No, that is now the tragedy that we have in this country. The moment broad-based government came in, Parliament was captured, just like he has been capturing many institutions, and we are done. So don't wish. People are wondering why Parliament cannot convene. They cannot, because they are waiting for a call from the president. It's unfortunate. Yes, we are in a presidential system, but everything has been captured. So why? I mean, the jet that the president is flying in must have been having Wi-Fi and internet. You know, like if it has a bedroom, definitely it has a working space, which is connected with Wi-Fi across the world. So you can converse. Actually, you can put everybody on a call You can do even, you can even see each other, Wanda is there, or Pio, it will be there chairing the cabinet meeting here, then they can converse and he can make a decision, right? But he can't, because there are so many interests intertwined. We have one of the best civil service in the world, including energy and petroleum technical people. All these figures, if you call them this way, if President Ruto removes himself and tells the experts, bring me what you think can lower, within 2 hours, you'll get it. The problem is, the people who are supposed to make those decisions, they are intertwined in the G2G, those companies, they have shares, they are waiting for their own profits, they went did securitization, which is illegal, those kind of things, it's a web. So the only language the president can hear, please Fred, listen to me, because there's something called political economy. It's one of the units in political science that we studied there, where you have the politics on this side and the economy, and you know how to balance. Now, luckily for me, so I understand where the only language the president can listen to, I can tell you. Every day there is madamano like the last 2 days. This economy was losing, just from the transport industry alone, about 12 billion. Now, the amount of VAT they are trying to get here is about 6.3. The president will have to make a decision, either to continue losing, because from Wednesday, I want to urge all Kenyans, please, not for everybody else. Just
Wednesday next week.
Yes, I mean, the 7 days are expiring on Tuesday. If he's coming back on Thursday, they meet the team on Saturday. Let the team tell us what they have agreed. Then we agree as Kenyans.
We have one of them on phone right now.
Yeah, we agree whether to agree or not.
Yes. Paul Thiongo is the chairperson for Travelers SACCO. Good morning. Bwana Thiongo is joining us via phone link. Good morning.
Good morning, Bwana Idimuli.
Yes, now, yesterday you may have been in that meeting that decided to call off the strike. We need to understand what happened there, because many Kenyans feel that probably it was a bit premature to call off the strike without any tangible deal from the government.
Yes, we have had this very lengthy discussion with the Minister Interior and Minister of the Transport of P&I, and of course, Minister for the Petroleum, and of course the Governor of Nairobi, whereby we have been trying to drive our point that the legislative is there. The Director General is requesting for a meeting for a special sitting to lower the petrol stations, and of course we are asking for the same thing, so that the government, the legislator can at least reduce or waive some of the taxation, so that the fuel can come down. And they kindly pleaded with us that the president is coming on Thursday night, and they will be able to give us the way forward on Friday, whereby they are planning for a meeting, and from there we shall have a meeting together. Actually, we based our trust mostly on Governor Sakanja, because I think he was called as our guarantor, and he referred himself as our guarantor, whereby he tried to persuade us that we trust him that the president will do something when he came back. But it was not reasonable to us, because we understand that in the law, the government has no veto power to say that let us waive this taxation and under that. We understand that the legal process, it is about the legislative power to call up the meetings and discuss about the... But because we understand the political of the nations, that there is a state capture, the legislative, it is not independent currently as we speak. As much the law require them to be, yes, the current legislative are not independent.
Then where do you get the confidence to call off the strike, if at all you know very well that the president has no authority to do all these things? It will have to go to parliament. There's been no discussion at that level. Where did you decide to call off the strike?
We decided to call off the strike because we remember last time the president, as much as don't have that power, the legislative power is the one that can have that power to reduce the price. We remember last time the president dropped the fuel on the top of the rooftop of the car. And the following day, the legislative were in the parliament very early in the morning to execute whatever the president have said, or to legislate whatever the president have executed. So we understand that the power belongs to the president in this country. As much as the rule, the constitution is very clear. The power of the legislative belongs to the president currently. We have to understand the politics of our nation.
Yeah. Okay. Before we let you go, you had made a promise that matatus or public service vehicles will not hike their fares for the next 7 days. We are getting reports that people are paying almost double their fares. Is that something you agreed on?
Not true. Actually, we have adjusted by 20% because we just wanted to share this. Because we let a member of the public to understand that the fare hike, the vehicle is consuming from 4,000 to 5,000 extra what it has been consuming. And actually, all that burden was left to the owner of the vehicles, which is not can only be to land the vehicles. So that can be able to land the vehicle, waiting for the solutions, we prayed for our commuters to share the cost. We share the small cost with them, and of course the rest they can be to be bared by the owner of the vehicle. Actually, we are not in the business, and we call upon our customer to understand the situations and to bear with us.
So commuters should expect hiked fares for the rest of the week?
Yes, they should commute, but are relevant, not about 50%, not about the double. It's about where the commuter was to pay 120 should pay something to do 150. Where he used to pay 100 should expect something like 120. Where he used to pay 50 should expect something like 70, not double.
Okay. One more question. On the Standard today, there's a headline about that it suggests that there may have been some level of betrayal among your colleagues, that there was a meeting with the CSS and some of those people were left out of the meeting. They only learnt about the meeting later on. What would you say to that headline?
Of course, let you understand that we have different organizations and a different representative. So actually, we have 3 organizations, and from then we have the main stakeholder. Like for travelers, for metros, those are the main stakeholder, whereby they don't belong to the organizations. They belong to standalone because they drive the economy in the transport instances. What we used to do, we used to pick the main investors or the main transport stakeholder to represent the others, because of course the boardroom meeting cannot accommodate 800 chairmen across the country. So or the directorship. If you go to the directorship, you may find that across the country we have around 400 and something leadership of the transport industry. All what you do is representative, and we are praying for them, because actually we borrow for apology because we felt that their expectations was not met. We never made the right decision. But all what I want to assure them that there was no bribery that happened, so that we can be convinced. What convinced us is that the reducible minimum was we called off the strike for that 10 shillings to be reduced, and they went go ahead as much as we stated on Monday that we shall not call off the strike. They go ahead and reduce the price. So one of the factors that at least convinced us that the government have at least a bit of the goodwill, because they dropped that 10 bob despite ignored that we never called off the strike. The other thing is that the governor of the Nairobi, who used to relate very well in the county level and discuss the matter that crisis that happened in a county, appear himself to be the guarantor and assured us when the president comes, he must do something. And of course, we understand and stated that if the president will not do anything about it, he will betray the government himself. And we are calling upon them not to lose hope. Some of them, there's a very rich guy from West Chateau, whereby he declared yesterday that he's ready to dispose of the business because he felt that he betrayed. So we never betrayed them. We cannot take small penny, because they have been saying that we took like 10.5 million so that we can be able to go back to the work. There was no money that was experienced to be given, and of course, actually, we made a statement there in the boardroom meeting whereby we stated that we are not here for our personal interest. We are representing the motorists and of course the general Kenyans. That will be a very big mistake and a very big betrayal of these nations, because it is selling our own people, saying that we can take like 10 million. That's a very small penny. The money we are losing, it is not cannot equate with the money that they are property that we have received, and we cannot do such a kind of a thing.
In 7 days, if at all nothing happens, are you saying you'll down your tools once again?
Yes. And we are calling upon all those investors, all those chairmen to kindly bear with us and let us come in a bigger way. Let us make it more bigger, the matter of all the strike, so that the government will feel the pain. Because what we understand that at some extent they must have been used that tactic. But let's assure them that if they failed, we shall sit down, and of course we shall have a sitting even before that time comes, so that we can be able to persuade the federal leadership that this is not something that was corrupted to stop the strike. It's something that was done with the good of our nations. It's something that we want to bring a harmony in this business, because actually you are the main casualties. The transport industry, as much the Kenya are losing, we are the main casualty. One society like for travelers have lost more than 10 million. So what do I have to equate unless I am a betrayer, a very big betrayer, to take some kind of a money to betray my people? What kind of a laws that have cost the entire city, the entire country, and the trust the leadership of all the motorists have based on us? We cannot do such a kind of things. And in case there are such kind of things that happened, we can be able to root out the issue. We are going to investigate. Also, we shall not keep silent. But if it happens that it was true, we'll be able to make sure that the people that took that kind of money will be uprooted from the leadership or representative of the motorist industry.
Thank you so much, Paul Thiongo. Paul Thiongo is a chairperson for Travelers Sacco that has more than 600 buses running some routes here in Nairobi. Asante sana for your time. And he says categorically there was no exchange of money. But
Fred, hold on a minute. No.
Before we go, let's take an update from the streets of Nairobi from our reporter, Modoni Brenda. Modoni,
if these guys have increased fares,
good morning. How are the streets of Nairobi a day after the strike was called off?
Morning to you, Fred Indimuli, and we are happy to report that Nairobi is back to its vibrant and fast-paced self. I'm standing right here at Jogoo Road, and as you can see behind me, matatus and the famous nganyas are back to business, and in Nairobi, business is fully operational. I don't know if my camera person can just pan to show you Outer Ring Road. Manake tumesimama here at the intersection where Outer Ring Road joins Jogoo Road to the CBD. As you can see in the Muli, Kenyans are back to business. Businesses are fully operational. Tumepitia hapo CBD. Tumeona pia Wakenya wameweza kufungua biashara, and most of the business owners that we talk to tell us that wameamka mapema to see if they are going to recover the lost revenue yenye hawakuweza kutengeneza biashara jana and on Monday. In the Muli, the only thing that commuters are complaining about is the hiked fare prices. Wenye tumeongelesha wanasema, for example, kutoka Nairobi kwenda Joska ni 200. Wengine wanasema kutoka Nairobi kwenda Thika, if you're using a matatu, wanalipishwa 150. So yes, business could be back to normal in the Muli, but Wakenya wanateta kuhusu the hiked fare prices. So that is the situation in the Muli. Barabara zimerudi, congestion is back to normal. I think hata mtu akikuja hapa naambiwa yesterday that the roads were so clear na hakukuwa na any traffic, haezi amini, because Kenyans have moved on with life and it doesn't seem ni kama kulikuwa na strike at all. Back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Modoni Brenda, for bringing us up to speed with the current traffic situation. Yes, life back to normal in the city at least. But for Kenyans and commuters especially, they have to contend with hiked bus fares. But going back to the call that we had with Paul Thiongo, it sounds even more convoluted hearing from someone who attended that meeting. What they're basing their confidence on, what they're basing their decision on, the kind of names they're talking about. Governor Sakaja, for example, what role does he have to play there?
Can I tell you, Fred, this is very sad. And I'll tell you something. You must, as you talk about these things, you must put yourself in the mind of the president, of the system, right? In April, they hike the prices, you make a bit of noise, you know, they just reduce a little, okay? From 204 to 196 petrol. Then you didn't do nothing. This time round, they hike very badly. Look at diesel. Diesel is everything. Then you make a bit of noise, and that is what people are celebrating, the 10 shillings. It's nothing. So in the mind of these people, they will continue joking around with you, rest in peace Jacob Juma, you know, that in 2026, the president will hike the price, he'll bring it down, then he will hike it again, and Kenyans will be tired. I can tell you, in the psychology of this government, they want Kenyans to be tired and say, after all, you know, we are used to this. That is it. It's the worst thing you can do to a human being is to push him to a place where they are desperate and they are like, there's nothing else they can do. Now, and that's what has been happening the last 2 years. The economy has already been doing very badly, Fred. Already, generally. Now, you come and hit and then you say, fine, already we are dead. Now, number 2, Hote Sakaja. Oh my God. I would rather somebody give us another better example. You are not able to collect garbage literally, potholes everywhere, lighting system, completely the city is down, and then you come and tell us that is a person with, the word is guarantee. Really? You cannot guarantee your own self in your own county. I don't know where the guy came from in that meeting. Now, you and I know why there's no confidence, because it's among the people who dine with the president. Then you come and tell us that is your guarantor. But number 2, you can see the fear. You know, these people are picked, and that's why we are told, I'm a mediator, I'm a professional, certified professional mediator. When you are talking about 2 teams meeting a neutral ground. Now, what happened here? Guys were shuffled. I'm sure most of them have never stepped into Harambee House. That place, it just sends fear immediately you're on that road. Because even at the entrance, there are GSC officers. Okay? Now, you move every 5 meters, there are some GSC officers. By the time you get to that lift, there's a red carpet on the lift itself. And you are received. Then you go up, you don't know where you are going. Then you get out on a corridor that is red carpeted. By the time you get to the
they don't have to go. They don't have to go.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
the moment they went there, your power to even think, shrinks. That's why people would hear the think and they know, they can swear that these guys were given money because they smiles. You couldn't, because they were around the people who they only see on TV.
He seems to suggest that there could be something that they're investigating.
Yeah.
He suggested that they're investigating. But don't you think,
and because of the issue of the goodwill, they want goodwill. Kenyans are
don't you think that we are placing too much of a burden on the matatu operators? If at all it's a Kenyan problem, why were we expecting too much from the matatu operators to carry this burden for us?
I mean, it's bequeathed on them to.
They're just businessmen.
To had steered this conversation, because actually this was running through their docket of transport. And first of all, let me say that they had a goodwill to lead, this industrial strike, actually to show the public the initiative that, this government could be held to account. They can be told to stop. Somebody can call them to order. But I think from that extent, Fred, we give the honor where it's due. These stakeholders were very critical at this particular stage to begin.
But they are business.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
They will just simply hike their fares and cover this money and move.
No. At this important juncture, I think I really like to congratulate them for the initiative of taking, at least for some point, some Kenyans need to say enough is enough.
Then why are Kenyans feeling so betrayed by matatu?
That is what they did. Secondly, for me, it might really not be a perfect conversation. And I agree with what Dr. is talking about. That you see, when you have a negotiation of this particular magnitude, there's a lot that needs to take place in the mediation process. I think that is probably why they were not advised properly. Sometimes I believe that, say from the environment itself, the issues of guarantee or not, I was for sure could be government that could facilitate probably a neutral ground for this mediation. And it ought to have been on public, on record and on camera, so that the whole country to actually be tuned and listen to the conversation that was going on. Because as Dr. has mentioned, and some of us are going to know, even Peter, the caller, has actually admitted that to some level they took a lot of time, and other people were not in agreement with some of the conversation they had. Other people within the stakeholders felt that they were actually not satisfied by that level of conversation. Number 2, it was odd for them. There was no rush, actually, because the magnitude and the number of stakeholders, they're talking about 800 chairmen or chairpersons. There could be a process of internal conversation and wide. How would we get into a negotiation with government? There was no hurry. The president was out. They could have waited for the president, if he was the person that was mattering in this conversation, to have come back within that time. A cross-board stakeholders conversation could have been done over 800 or over 1,000 stakeholders, so that a meaningful public consultation within the transport industry could have been reached.
But also,
I still feel, and I still you confirm from the caller himself that they are not even sure. I mean, his statement is not even sure that, that conversation can hold. Because he's talking about, trembling conversation that is going, you could pick that from his voice. That indeed they gave time for the consultation for President to come. Yes. And admitting the reality is about our political issues, that Parliament is defunct. That is what he was talking about.
Yes, but
that
we don't have a confidence.
That the executive,
they know Parliament
power to the Supreme Executive. I think it's not acceptable, friend.
And that is what they based their decision on. But from an economic standpoint, any businessman who has had to shut down their business for a day or two would be under pressure to return to normalcy. Do you feel that probably we're burdening this group, matatu operators, a bit too much? Then they were keen to return to normalcy and make their money.
I think from a business point of view, anybody would want to go back to business as soon as possible. Remember, these are people who have, some of them have taken loans to buy these vehicles. But Kenyans had placed a lot of confidence in this team that they are going to negotiate to the best interest of Kenyans. And in my view, government should have been more responsive to the plight of Kenyans, given that these are business people and their interests are private. And the advantage that government had this time round is you are dealing with people like Paul Thiongo that you can call and bring to Harambee House. Tomorrow or the day after, it could be people that you cannot call to the table. Remember what we have gone through the last 2 years, where we have these people who are leaderless, tribeless, and so on. When you're dealing with that kind of people, when you push them to the corner, it will become very difficult. So in my view, this was an opportunity for government to actually listen to Kenyans, because everybody was watching, and you saw what happened on Monday. When that gentleman said, with all due respect, he became a sensational across the country, telling you that Kenyans felt that this one gentleman has represented their views, that the 10 shillings is not adequate. Now, seeing them yesterday, coming back with all due respect, we have been treated well, and I think Dr. Bai has explained what would happen to anybody who walks into Harambee House, for instance. I've never been to Harambee House myself, so I'm imagining if you get into that place, then there would be all these things that we are seeing here. So, but in essence, the government should be more responsive, and I expect, from where I sit, that as we go into the negotiations that are happening in the course of the week, we will see more of government representing the interest of the people. Secondly, Fred, I do not see, from where I sit, the place of Governor Sakaja in these negotiations. He is an entity in my view, not as a person, but the office that he holds, because he is not involved in any legislation. He's not in the national government executive, so he has nothing to add value, in my view, other than now his presence and maybe the relationship that he has with the matatu operators in Nairobi. This is not a problem that is in Nairobi only. It's a nationwide issue. And I would agree with Dr. Bai that these negotiations, as we go ahead, we should not just leave it to business people in the name of transport sector operators.
Misplaced hope.
Yes,
exactly.
And I agree that, Fred, the needs for a structured conversation that is inclusive. And I think this has been a very, very key call to order. It's an opportune time for such things to happen, so that the listening and a well-thinking government.
Who should lead that?
That's what I'm saying, a well-thinking government.
If it's a well-structured approach, who should actually take the lead?
I mean, whoever, if it's a government, allied ministries or stakeholders that are concerned, what I'm saying,
matatu operators were not the correct group to lead this nationwide movement to protest or to complain to the government that there is a problem. Then you're talking about a structured approach to the thing. Who should take the lead?
I mean, probably even
the official opposition.
Officials or that's what I was trying to say. It's a wide, inclusive, and that's what I'm saying. Regardless of who is going to take the lead, I still feel that it's time for civil society. TISA would been doing a good report on the state of the nation, the state of debt crisis. They gave us a very good lecture last time when we were in Limuru on the state of the nation. The united opposition, for example, and I asking Dr. Mbai to probably look at what would be the alternative, position. What would be the alternative view from DCP? I mean, what were the proposals?
The former deputy president party leader spoke yesterday, and we do have that clip.
Yes.
We probably listen to what Bwana Rigathi Gachagua had to say about this issue. Then we come back and discuss this, because the question is, okay, fine, who leads this structured negotiations?
Yes.
Are we still waiting on the same matatu operators to go meet the president, and whatever they're given there, then we will be comfortable with it? Do we have that clip by the former deputy president on this issue? Yes, then let's have that story.
Democratic Alliance Party UDA has come out strongly in defense of President William Ruto, following nationwide criticisms over the latest fuel price hikes announced by April.
Asanteni sana.
Speaking Tuesday, UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar warned against what he termed as destruction and political hostility, insisting Kenya must follow constitutional and democratic process.
The move reflects government's goodwill and commitment towards easing pressure on the public transport sector and facilitating an amicable solution or resolution to the current impasse.
Omar challenged critics of the president to await for the 2027 general election if they are dissatisfied with Ruto's leadership.
Stability and security of Africa's supply and resources is demonstrable in this government. Lakini mkiwa mumetota na ukabila, hisia yako ni chuki dhidi ya maarifa, huoni hata lile zuri ambalo linatendeka.
I want to say, Hassan Omar, you are the ones radicalizing the people of Kenya. When you ask Churchill to kill the matatu industry and replace it with BTR buses, what are you doing? That is radicalization.
The UDA Secretary General also backed Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro's proposal to recall Parliament from recess to debate and resolve the ongoing fuel crisis, saying the move reflects the need for institutions to address public concerns through lawful processes.
Nimeandikia bunge yetu, the National Assembly, nikitaka kubadilisha ama kuamend our VAT Act ndio tupeleke ushuru wa VAT wa mafuta wa petroli, diesel na kerosene itoke vile iko katika 8%, tuipeleke 0, ile inaitwa VAT exempt.
Recalling Parliament, every Kenyans, that's why I urged people to use some solutions, because crisis si ya milele, hivi vitaisha. Hata mwenye Trump hawezi kuvibeba.
Nyoro is proposing urgent legislative changes aimed at lowering fuel prices, including making fuel VAT exempt, scrapping the 7-shilling road maintenance levy introduced in 2024, and introducing targeted diesel subsidies. According to the Kiharu lawmaker, the measures could significantly reduce pump prices and ease the burden on Kenyans grappling with the rising cost of living.
Whether you are going to reduce fuel prices or not is not on the table. You must reduce fuel prices. It is a matter of when. So don't buy time, my friends. Act to the point where you can act before Kenyans push you to act, and you'll be in a corner.
Meanwhile, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua intensified attacks on President William Ruto, accusing him of living lavishly while Kenyans struggle with harsh economic realities.
4 years down the line, there is no country. You keep on blaming President Uhuru Kenyatta, and you are asking matatu owners, why didn't they go on strike when Uhuru Kenyatta was president? When Uhuru Kenyatta was president, fuel went only to 135 shillings. We are now over 240. The people of Kenya know the difference.
The political exchanges comes as pressure continues to mount on the government following recent fuel price adjustment that have triggered protest and renewed public debate over the cost of living. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Level of political exchange. I'll come to you, Bwana. The level of political...
Just a minute.
No, let's go to Dr. Mbai. I'll come to you, Bwana.
Fred, let me tell you two things that come to mind very quickly. Number one, I want to go on record. I want to appreciate the transport industry for taking initiative as soon as possible to start that strike. It is important to have a conversation, to start somewhere. The only problem we have seen quickly, we cannot allow them to continue alone. Because definitely they'll be mesmerized by power and all that. Number two, this government thinking, because I know a bit of it, make them poor, let them go on their knees so you can control them. Okay? That's a whatever that is used by dictatorial regimes. Make them poor, make them poor, economy, everything. Money circulates with a few guys up here. So that now they come begging, you give them chicken, like maize, 100 shillings, 200, 500, because of next year. Somebody was asking, how can government be so careless facing an election? Two things. When you make them poor, you can buy them easily, right? Or the president could be thinking, let me make all this money quickly this year. Kenyans will forget. I can bet Fred seated here. January, February, March, the fuel will come down because of the re-election. It's a matter of playing with the minds of people. That's why, to answer your question, Fred, we have been talking last night with my party leader. We are going to brief him again this morning. They quickly have a meeting first as united opposition, get a position that he has asked for 7 days, so that Wednesday at 6 by midnight on Tuesday.
So the opposition takes over?
Yes. Not only that, no. Let me not use the word takeover. It's not right to say takeover. We will be one of the main stakeholders. Okay? Get the transport industry as one of the main stakeholders. Get the civil society organizations. Get the influencers, right? Get the Motorists Association of Kenya, where I'm a member. I mean, you are not. You may not be affected by the fares, as it were, but I'm a member of Motorists Association of Kenya. Let them be on the table. Let's get like 20 stakeholders, okay, and plan for Tuesday midnight, and tell the president 2 choices. We will not allow you to make us poor, so we can beg, or so you can control us. Then we say this is the bare minimum. And by the way, this team will not be called to State House or Harambe. We'll just do a presser to say, reduce or face the Kenyans. That is how we are looking at it. So this thing has troubled us. We appreciate always when somebody takes a lead, appreciate them.
Yes.
So only that.
Are you, as a united opposition, willing to take the lead on this?
Immediately.
So that you drive the conversation in that structured way?
Yes, we'll be at the center of that conversation.
Very pragmatic solution by Ndindi Nyoro, the MP for Kiharu.
Yes.
He understands the need for parliament. He understands the processes. He's been part of these discussions. Yes. Perhaps the most pragmatic, the most reasonable solution that we've had so far from even a politician. Do you think probably he should be taking the lead on this? Push it the right way through parliament.
Yeah, of course. He's very brilliant on the proposals that he has made. And one of the things that I agree with, for the record, I am a member of the United Green Party movement, whose presidential candidate is David Maraga. I've been saying this, Fred, on the set. And as a matter of fact, he's proposed, a proposal that I've seen in congruence with what Honorable Ndindi Nyoro has mentioned. And I'm coming back to this conversation around a structured conversation where, CJ has proposed a number of solutions and is asking, how do we raise the fuel crisis? And noting that every responsible government is therefore responsible for cushioning the citizens from these, harsh economic times and cost of the living. One thing that we are reasoning with Honorable Ndindi Nyoro in our proposal is that we exempt all the fuel products from VAT. And I think that is what Honorable Ndindi Nyoro has equally mentioned. The other one was just to redirect more resources on, that are being squandered in budgeted corruption. Fred, and this is what we have been mentioning, that budgets are not just budgets. They are budgeted corruption that are, and probably TISA would confirm this has been through a budgeting processes, that you will find out there is a lot of wastages that are, that are budgeted through, corrupt means. 800, was it in your report indicates that almost 800 billion that is being lost, annually. And the cost of that 800 billion, even if you take 500 billion and say 300 billion, the cost of 500 billion itself in the economy is quite huge and could cushion a lot of these, issues that we are foreseeing. So I actually foresee, and I agree, probably my proposal towards a structured conversation, this is where I agree with Daktari, that as opposed to us, creating more anarchy and more tension in the country, it could be important for opposition to actually be part of this particular conversation by proposing workable and solutions that could caution Mwananchi and stabilize the country. You know, this is what I'm insisting on, Fred, that I agree that at this particular stage, the transport industry by themselves cannot burden the weight of this conversation and negotiation. That I agree with. If this, with the professional
Alexander.
background in economic has all this information, why not advise? Why not get in the dialogue?
There's a risk on leaving this to the politicians. You've had some of the discussions there have very little to do with the fuel prices. They talk about something else. Now the exchange is who's a better president between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, and who should lead people to the streets. We may depend on politicians, but that also comes at a risk. They've let us down. They look to have been caught on a back step with this crisis of fuel. They waited until the transporters went on strike. How come they waited until that?
Well, maybe to be fair, I think Honorable Didi Nyoro did issue his statement just before the strike happened. And in my view, looking at the pathway out of this problem is a legislative solution. And I do not understand why, especially the Secretary General of the ruling party, UDA, would have a problem with a legislative assembly being called back to come and solve a national problem. And I think, in my view, what the Honorable Didi Nyoro is suggesting is part of the solution. And when the chairman, Paul, was speaking, I was taken aback listening to him. And Kenyans have come to this illusion that for anything to happen in this country, then it has to be the president doing it. And when now the Honorable Didi Nyoro is suggesting solutions, even the ruling party itself is saying no, a solution cannot come from that direction, it has to come from the president. I think we are going in the wrong direction, in my view, and we should allow institutions that are there in our constitution to work. And once they work, we will have solutions that are amicable, because nobody is happy when the transport sector is not working. For instance, me as a person, I didn't go to work for the last 2 days. My children didn't go to school. That is not a good thing. If anybody fell sick in my house yesterday or the day before, I don't know how I'd have gotten them to hospital. Whether I have insurance or I have money, it doesn't matter, because you cannot get them to hospital. And that now infringes on other rights that we have in our constitution. So in my view, we should find a balance between the representatives that we will have negotiating. Because now what we have seen from the discussions yesterday and the day before, when we leave it to the business people, they will look at just one side of the coin. They'll just look at profit maximization, and then they'll push the burden to Kenyans. So we can only have another more independent player in this negotiation that will look at the welfare of the citizens, and that could be maybe the political class, the civil society, and other professional bodies to be part of this negotiation, so that then we have solutions coming from all corners. Because government would also they have their own experts, but it would also be important for somebody else in the room to say, that is your view, but from our analysis, this is also how we are seeing things from our end, so that then we come up with a solution. And I believe we cannot solve this problem without Parliament being involved, in my view.
All right. Yeah. Why the reluctance by Parliament, Dr. Mbai? Because even your members, people who support you, have been there. It's only Ndindi Nyoro's lone voice that is saying we can recall Parliament. And this is what I will go there as this is a proposal I'll go there with. Yes. You come from the conglomeration of parties that are known as a united opposition. How come you've been slow to respond to this?
Now, first of all, I'm aware that yesterday, members of the DCP party in Parliament, they actually had a press yesterday, and they spoke about the same things. The statement is there. I mean, to add their voice on these issues of fuel, and they said, well, Didi Nyoro is a member, and he came up with something, and all of them have said we are waiting for it. It's only that now the speaker, the majority leader, all of these people, they dine with the president every day, so they cannot have the capacity to simply say, I took the letter. The speaker cannot sit down and just recall. This is a problem. And I want to tell you, Fred, I'm sorry, I will be here next year, God willing. We cannot allow ourselves to go back to the gains of the 2010 constitution. It's not fair to the Kenyan people. We must have a working government and nation. Please, we must have separation of powers. Why do governments fear to be checked over, to be oversighted. These are some of the things, Fred, that will be on the ballot next year. We cannot have a president who comes and wants to take us back to the pre-2010. Never mind, they never believed in the constitution. Anyway, so what am I saying? All members of parliament we have spoken to, by the way, they are willing to sit down and work on that document. Yesterday, our members held a presser. Now, two things, because it's good to be structured. The review of the VAT Act, and also parliament will do the reduction of the RMFF, the Road Maintenance Levy Fund. Because remember, it was added from 18 to 25 to 24 to just take it back. Now, going back to what he said, it's not our business what government is doing with the 7 shillings. Securitization is illegal, by the way. And those are some of the things we actually want to go and engage and say it's not proper. There are so many other places you can get money from. And that's where we are now. What we are doing, our accountants and economists are working on looking at the finance bill right now and the budget. People only focus on the finance bill. The devil is in the budget. In the next 1 week, our technical teams are working. We'll be presenting to this nation, telling them, these are the places you can get money to subsidize fuel, right? In the budget, which is already a public document, right? So we are working to see. You cannot come and tell us, State House right now, they are looking for 20 billion, including going to buy land from Nakuru so that you can move State House. Is it a priority? And what happened? They want to move State House Nakuru because there's somebody who are well connected who have built a hotel which is towering high. And they know the next president will say it's either State House moves or the hotel. So they want to buy land, move State House so they can, quote unquote, also eye that land.
It's contained in the...
It's in the budget, 20 billion. Anything you hear, you interpret very fast. Ole Katito went and said, we need 20 billion because, we have other lodges. And then an MP from Nakuru comes in that committee and says, by the way, you need to budget for moving State House. Something nobody has ever had a problem with or even thought about. Why? Because they have to look for ways. We are going to say, Mr. President, let's be fair. President Uhuru Kenyatta spent 4 billion. 4 billion a year on State House. Go back, even if how much you're spending, maximum 10. That is 10 billion that can be taken to subsidize fuel. Those are the kind of things we'll be going to the streets about next week.
All right.
We'll be very practical. When you tell us you have securitized the 7 shillings, we'll tell you we have 10 billion. Simply come and use it here. By the way, we only need 5 billion. We only need 5 billion to bring diesel
as a subsidy.
As a subsidy. Remove the 4 shillings profit. It's good to go this because for people to understand for just 1 minute. Fred, this is what we are saying. Very important. 1, the product list, of course, for petrol is 117. The distribution cost is 4.9 shillings. Profit is 17.3. Taxes 74. So what are we saying? Let the cost remain for now, the distribution. The profit, remove 4 shillings. I mean, from the oil marketers and all that, because of the landing cost, remove 4 shillings. We are very practical, by the way, 4 to 5 shillings, okay? Because the profit is about 17 to 24. Taxes, make it from 16 from 8 to 0 on taxes. I'm on petrol, and then the fuel levy 7 shillings. That will bring petrol from 214 to 187, practically 27 shillings off, to make it lower than East African countries. Now on diesel, it's now cost.
This is a proposal you're working on to present before.
Yes. That, and ours we present to the media, and the president should go and lead it. And we proceed. That's what we're going to do. But because there are some things that you have to go to parliament, 2 things. The reduction of the fuel levy and the VAT. Now, diesel is costing at 242.
Were they were made?
Pardon?
You already made. We need to take an update. We need to take an update from Naivasha.
Very quickly. Yes. The cost of diesel is 167 all the way to 242. Now, we are saying this. Minus 5 shillings on the profit. Add subsidy, 5 billion. Which will reduce by 24 shillings. When you add a subsidy on the 5 shillings, we'll tell the president where to get the money, especially State House budget. And then minus the VAT, again on diesel, fuel levy of 7. It will bring the cost of diesel to 189, 53 shillings off. Not very far from the transport industry proposal. Those are the things we are saying practically that we want to go and do. We know where the money is. Our Gen Zs are working around the clock and economists. we go and tell the Mr. President, this is a budget you are taking to Parliament, remove this 10 billion. We only need 5, by the way.
All right.
This is constantly possible.
Let's take an update from Naivasha.
That confirms we
Naivasha was actually a ghost. Allow me to take, Daniel, allow me to take this update from Naivasha, which was a ghost town yesterday. Willie Dennis Jiru is on standby to bring us up to speed with the current status of Naivasha. Good morning, Willie Dennis. How is Naivasha looking today?
Good morning, Freddie. It is indeed a good discussion there with our very own Bonambai there. The discussions, I was listening on what is happening on that end, and just to update you on what is happening on this end, it is actually normalcy, back to normal from what was yesterday. Actually, if you can recall, Freddie and our viewers, this was a ghost town, as you have alluded that fact. And as a juxtaposition, the situation yesterday was just bare, with only smoke oozing from that building there, which was adversely affected. The Swahili man says, mwenye kovu sidhani kapoa. They're still reeling from the after effects of the demonstrations, and most of these people we have talked to here, who are the matatu operators, they have said that wametucheza. We will be hearing from what they have said, but if a camera person could just have a picture around to just showcase on what is happening right now, everything is back to normal on streets that largely, we will say, had no one to transact on any business. Ndugu, nieleze jina lako, wewe ni mhudumu wa matatu. Hali iko vipi sasa? Malalamishi yenu yameweza kuzingatiwa? Anza kwa jina.
Mimi naitwa Evans na mimi ni mfanyakazi wa matatu katika idara ya huku upande wa Naivasha, lakini kitu tumeona ni watu walitucheza, hao viongozi walitucheza. Inaonekana kila mtu alikuwa na tuseme hivi tunaita kiberembere, kila mtu anataka kuongea kwa televisheni kulingana na kinyo walikuwa wamepatiwa kwa mfuko. Lakini sisi yenyewe hakuna kitu tumesaidika nyuma yake. Sikuona haja ya mgomo. Tukiona kama ilikuwa mgomo, haitukuona haja ya mgomo sisi.
Sasa ilikuwa kushinikiza serikali iweze kupunguza bei ya mafuta, iweze kurudi chini kwa kile kiwango ambacho mlikuwa mnataka, ili athari hizo za bei ya juu zisiweze kufikia mwananchi. Sijui mambo haya yataangaliwa vipi? Wamesema wapewe kipindi cha wiki moja.
Hakuna, sisi tunaona tu ni kawaida na ni maongo. Juu hiyo kipindi cha wiki moja tunaona tu ni kama kudanganya tu, ni kawaida tu. Kama unajua walipatiwa kitu kwa mfuko, wakatia kwa mfuko, hata hiyo wiki moja ikikuja utaona tu ni kawaida. Hiyo kitu ni ya kupuzilia na kutupa muda.
So mwisho wa kusha
sijakula,
mwisho wa kusha hatimaye itakuwa vipi?
Hatimaye ni bei, tunaona tu bei ita remain the same na serikali tu hakuna kitu cha change.
Haya, wacha tusikie kutoka kwa wengine. Freddie, I want to storm on these guys. They are matatu drivers and they don't know if I want to speak to them. Morning, niaje bro? Uko live kwa TV47. Nieleze tu. Baada ya mgomo. He doesn't want to say anything. Ndugu, sasa maandamano yamekwisha. Tuseme nini? Tuseme nini?
Sisi tunasema tu sisi tunataka peace. Hatutaki mambo mengi. Turudi kazi. Tutafutie watoto chakula. Pia serikali pia naye ituangalie mambo yetu. Sisi tutafutaka amani, nchi ni yetu. Hatutaki mambo mengi.
Sasa maandamano ilikuwa bei irudi chini, alafu itakuwaje?
Sasa mimi nikiangalia, mimi naona kama watu wa machairman wa matatu ni kama wamehongwa. Sababu ile matajio tulikuwa naye hatukuipata. So hapo kidogo wametuweka chini kidogo, wametuangusha.
Watu wameumia sana, biashara
imeumia, watu wamekufa. So sisi tulikuwa tunataka hiyo mgomo uendelee. Hiyo pia leo serikali sikie ile uchungu, yani ile uzito. Kama ni economy kidogo irudi chini, ndio pia nao wafikie mwananchi wa kawaida. So tunaona serikali haifikii mwananchi wa kawaida. So sisi sababu tuumilia kwa sababu sisi ni wa Kenya.
So watu wanaenda Nairobi.
Sisi tumeendelea na kazi yetu. Na pia tunashukuru Mungu.
Asante. Nashukuru sana kwa wakati wako. There you go, Freddie. He would want to speak, but I'm being told by our producer Mary Washuka, rudisha majembe studioni, and that is what ultimately I have to do. I take it narudisha majembe kwako mwenzangu Freddie. You continue the discussions in our other side of the broadcasting house in Nairobi.
Asante sana, napokea majembe hayo, niendelee na hii discussion hapa kwa studio. Because people appear a bit disillusioned.
Yes.
There's been loss of life, loss
Yes.
of business, loss
Yes.
of the economy suffered for those
Yes.
2 days. Then it just ended. People would hope for some real consequence of going to the streets.
I mean,
that's a feeling around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a general feeling. I mean, from Naivasha, I think you just talk to people from Thika Road here. There's a deep sense of betrayal. There's a feeling of disillusionment on the public, because now we are asking, why did you go for? What was the need of striking? Because there was an objective that if you strike, there could be probably the cost being reduced. There could probably be a significant pronouncement from government. But I think what would be the essence of, we have how many lives that have been lost, over 10 or so. Properties destroyed, vehicles being touched along the road. For what to happen? For the next day, 2 days after, fuel prices to be still be increased. So what exactly? And guarantors in place. So I think what I'm still feeling, and I'm still not a disillusioned Kenya. I'm very optimistic that this marks a beginning of a conversation. This should mark a beginning of government being aware that if there is any need for a build-up on the 24th commemoration of Gen Z, then this should be a warning sign to government. If we see signs of our papers, first pages being splashed on violence and touching of, that is what is in the splash of every dailies in this country. It should be any security sector, any government security installation and investigation should see these as a precursor, probably to what is expected in June. Better decision needs to be made. I was still thinking, and I'm still a believer that as we move forward, Fred, there are proposals. And Kenyans, the buck stopped not only to the president and the executive. The Article 1 of this constitution has given power to Mwananchi, actually to have a direct or indirect representation. So those of us who went to the street on 24th of June 2024, subsequently 2025, and is still feeling that the country is headed to the wrong way. If we feel that our parliamentarians, if we feel that the House is not representing us as the way it should be represented, we have a decision to make. And I think this is one thing that we should tell citizens, that your obligation, your responsibility is make the right decisions for the government of the day. And Fred, ODM experts in government. This is one thing that we should actually be asking. We had 3 or 4 cabinet secretaries. Two of them were in members of parliament. Who advises this government by that time? One of them. I shouldn't be Honorable Wandai.
Should have completed that clip.
Who asked? Who exactly? Who advises this government? Now is an advisor. Honorable Mbadi, who exactly criticized this government as, was he a minority or minority?
Yeah, he was a minority leader.
I questioned the government. Now they're in government and saying that this is a global issue that cannot really be dealt away with. So
question about
where are the experts?
Is a big one on the front page of the Daily Nation. But usually it's become cyclic now, that when it comes to around this period every year, there's a lot of decisions, a lot of discussions that are going around. It must be very precarious for this administration to have this conversation that you're saying when Orogo says now the conversation starts about the fuel crisis because other people will come. But it comes at a very precarious time when you're discussing also budgets, estimates, finance bill also. Do you feel that the government could be reluctant for a reason to have this discussion now? That we can't have the discussion about fuel prices now and the crisis this month with the budget estimates and discussions around the finance bill as well?
I think, in my view, it would be ill-informed to imagine that you do not want to solve the current problem. Because if you don't solve the current problem, then it will be compounded as we get into June, in my view. So the best option would have been try as much as possible to solve conclusively this problem. And as you have heard from the people in Naivasha, the feeling could be mutual across the country that we feel let down by the people who went on the negotiation table. And now that will boil in people's minds as they continue paying heightened fares. we expect actually more things will actually go up. If you look at the inflation last month, it went up to 5.6 from an average of 4.1 or thereabout for the last 1 year or so. What we expect to see as now the fuel prices have gone up, everything will go up. Food prices will go up, everything will go up. So now what will happen is by the time we get now into June, people will not even care about what is provided for in the finance bill. They will not care about what is in the budget, but they will just be saying life is difficult, and any spark that comes up will be flared by this problem that has started now. So we are likely to have a strained relationship between the people and its government, and this is not good for our economy. As Dr. Bai said, every day that we have the chaos that we have, we were losing every day 6.3 or 6.4 billion every day. So for the last 2 days, we have lost about 12.8 billion or thereabout in terms of other taxes that come through other means due to the paralysis that was there in the transport sector. So if this was to continue, then we would have a problem. So the best way forward, in my view, for government would be to try as much as possible to solve the current problem conclusively, not wait for now the discussions that are happening with the budget and the finance bill, because when all this now boils together, then it will become a catastrophe in the coming days if we don't solve it now.
And of course, we need to understand that for the last 2 years, the events surrounding the discussions around budget and the finance bill have resulted in that date, the 25th of June, where Gen Zs would want to mark an anniversary of what happened in 2024. After the break, we talk about the budget estimates, and is this simply an issue of expenditure? Yeah, are we spending too much that we don't have as we conclude these discussions? You're watching TV47 Breakfast.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikikunywa maji.
Oh my God. He left me.
Nitumie ni line. Uko nje kuna Wi-Fi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tamulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
Me won't entertain divas. No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching TV47, and this is TV47 Breakfast. My name is Fred Indimuli. I'm still in studio with Dr. Peter Mbai, who is Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs, DCP. We have political analyst Daniel Orogo and Head of Programs at TISA, Alexander Rivi. He's an economist. Later today, we'll be having the CS for Finance, the Honorable John Badi, CS National Treasury, and he'll be discussing the finance bill, because this is a discussion going forward. This will be more of a town hall kind of conversation. Taxes, cost of living, jobs, and the future. And you should make a date with us starting at 6:30, and this discussion will go on till 9 p.m. this evening on TV47. And that's where we want to go now, because around this time we should be talking about matters budget. Yeah, budget estimates. We have a 4.9 trillion shilling budget against revenue expectation of about 3 trillion shillings. Meaning that we still are operating with a serious deficit. You've been talking about some of the appropriations that are contained in this budget estimates, and you said that's where the discussion should be. The problem is the quality of conversations around the budget making process appears to have lost momentum. And I'm making this in comparison with what we saw in 2024, where a lot of young Kenyans even went beyond even turned this conversation and interpreted it into vernacular to try and communicate with people down there. That level of discourse is nowhere this time around. Why is that? Are people not concerned about the budget making process? And not just the finance bill, even the budget estimates.
It's unfair. So thank Fred. Quickly, a big jump up to our guy. Willie is very active in Naivasha. He does a lot of work there, and he's all over in every situation. But something to note, Naivasha, Fred has been having a big problem. There was a lot of loss of lives. I mean, like 20 young people with bullet wounds in hospital today. Okay? About 2 have already been confirmed dead, and police were trying to remove the bullets to hide the evidence and all that. There's a lot of issues, a lot of destruction, you know. Very supermarkets, it happened last year on June 25th, Sabasaba. There's a very bad issue of violence in Naivasha, and we are telling our people, we are investigating reports that some of these things cannot be very normal. How can destruction and looting continue in Muranga, Fred, long after the protests were over? Could there be some hand, you know, trying to show that there's some violence in some areas of the country? So we are investigating those reports, but we are together with our people there. Now, let me, secondly, very quickly, because it's important to give people a way forward. This is what we are going to do, because action is important. I sit in the technical team of the United Opposition, okay, in the technical team, and I'm sure Logo also coming from the party. We are talking to our principals this morning to convene, to begin working, the technical team to begin working, get other stakeholders, so that we give Kenyans hope that all is not lost. That despite what has happened with our colleagues, we are going to be a bigger team, which is going to give directions. And maybe by tomorrow, we should be able to give the first presser to say, this is what we are now together. This is a bigger team, because you could see the discouragement from Eric Mondo also, for example, when the thing was called off, because there are many stakeholders who are not involved in the calling off. So what we are saying now is okay. They showed what can be done. So what I want to promise you today, we are in high-level conversation with our principals this morning. We want to form a small technical team to begin now putting together who are going to be the stakeholders. Then by maybe tomorrow, Friday, they can be able to address the nation.
But that's as far as the fuel price.
Yeah. I'm just going. That's on. And what we are saying, Fred, we don't have to wait for June 25th. Yeah. If an issue has come, we deal with issues, like you said. We'll deal with issues as they come. We cannot say we are going to lump together 20 issues on 25th of June.
The concern is, Bwana Mbaye, that the discussions around the budget estimates, the finance bill,
and that's where
were tabled
now,
before Parliament.
This is very serious.
A month ago. How come that discussion we're not even having it at your level?
Now, I told you,
as United Opposition.
I mentioned that. Did I mention that? Already our team has been working on it. We want our work as a technical team is, of course, to feed the principles. We want to give Kenyans an alternative finance bill. Alternative from the word go. Where do you get money? Number 2, very important. People have been so much over concerned with finance bill, but remember, you can do a budget without a new finance bill, because you can decide to go with the past finance bill. So our focus, and this is important for Kenyans to note, we are more concerned about appropriation, about the budget. Our teams are working on it. Actually, in the next 1 or 2, 3 days, we wanted just to brief the principals. Then they can come out and say, this is what, and now it has coincided with the fact that we are looking for money to subsidy the fuel. So by towards the weekend, early in the week, maybe by Monday, we'll be able to come and tell Kenyans, guys, we cannot again, in another year, the president is on record talking about a balanced budget, right? Actually, it was one of his promises. And there's something called zero-based budget, which if you ask Mbadi today, this evening, he will say it is there. It's not. Because we know what goes into preparing a zero-based budget. You have to go zero. Zero-based means don't go piling up the budget of last year. Go down and ask afresh. All these 2 billion allocated to this ministry, where is it going? Then you start from there. So what are we saying? We want to enforce this year a balanced budget and a zero-based budget and a balanced budget. How? Fred, we want to make sure we are not going to pass this budget with any deficit. That 1 trillion has to go.
How will you do that?
Thank you so much. We'll simply go through a tooth comb for every vote.
Have the numbers in Parliament.
No,
I mean,
the bigger. Let me tell you, we have given our powers to MPs, and it is very clear in the Constitution. The power belongs to the people, so we are going to rally the people to tell them we cannot go to this debt every year, because when William Ruto leaves office next year, he will give us the problem. Okay. We are going to be left paying the debt. So you ask a very good question. Let us table the proposal to the people of Kenya and tell them, call your MP, tell them, don't dare pass the budget in that form. Because, and that's, you remember already some MPs have a problem with the electorates because of Finance Bill of 2024. It's going to be added now that this budget one. Right. So we have to be proactive. We don't want to go, the president promised balanced budget. That's what we want to enforce.
Daniel, we seem to have left this conversation a bit too late in the day. That budget making process started in September last year.
Yes.
We've all known that we are exceeding fiscal space. 4.8 trillion shillings. We don't have that kind of money. Yet that is a conversation we are leaving till now. In about 2 weeks' time, CS Mbadi will be presenting these things before Parliament. This is a conversation we should have had already. How come the level of discourse about budget making is not at the level it was in 2024?
I mean, because I think we are losing momentum, like Daktari has said. The psychological warfare that has been played on mind of Kenyans is quite that Kenyans are put to a situation where they are running up and down to meet the basics. And it's dangerous for a country to be at a level where people are surviving to just get food on the table. Fred, if the poor, if those who are suffering are left to a point where they only care about a roof over their head, the shoes over their feet, the cloth over their body, and the meal for the next day, it will be very difficult for a person to start thinking about $1 trillion budget deficit. And let us agree, let's give, probably that is where it is. But however, I agree with you that we probably need to take responsibility for educating Kenyans on what should be happening on the budgetary allocation. Do you want?
Allow me to talk to someone who's on phone, Gigi Kagombe, MP Gatundu South. He was supposed to be a member of this panel. Yes, because this is a conversation.
The responsibilities we have as representative is to avail ourselves. And I always have a problem with Honorable every time.
Yes. Banakagombe, my panelists are complaining that you are to be part of this conversation. You were not able to. Because what we're discussing, and I'm sure you would be able to contribute to it, how far do we go with this conversation with you first? Do we talk about the fuel prices or do we talk about the budget making process?
Fred, thank you, and I'm sorry, I should have been with you today, and I really apologize for not being able to make it in good time. But let me just say this. We are Kenyans. The budget is a Kenyan budget. We are the people. And I like it when Mbaye talks about the power belonging to the people. The power belongs to the people, yes. They have only, delegated it to legislators. But, when you're talking about any measures that he wants us to take, whether be it subsidy, be it whatever it is that is going to cushion the mwananchi and the actual user of fuel prices or fuel, we need to know that that money will come from somewhere. And I like the way you're saying, Fred, that we cannot afford. It's not about parliamentarians. It's about we as a country. And it is not about opposition. It's not about the people in government. It's not about the people who support William Ruto. It's not about the people who support the opposition. It's about we, the Kenyans. We do not have fuel ourselves. We do not do our own fuel. So we buy. We must ask ourselves, what is important? Do we subsidize fuel? Do we get medicine in the hospitals? Do we get education? Do we pay doctors? Who do we pay? Where do we put our money? Where are our priorities? That is the first question. Then the second question is on the issue of budget making process. This is cyclic. It is something that happens every year. Just like we do in your own homes, when you get your salary, you plan for it. And you plan according to how much you have. So I'm serious. Some of these things, it's very good to be in opposition and to talk about, the government is not doing ABCD. Nobody had seen this. This was unprecedented. And by the way, we need to have this conversation as a people, not belonging to this side of the divide in parliament, whether you sit in the opposition or with the majority. We must have a conversation as a people and ask ourselves, can we afford some of these things that we're doing? Can we afford to subsidize fuel? Can we afford to pay? Do we pay subsidized fertilizer or do we pay subsidized fuel? Which one do we go for? And people need to understand that when you're in government, you only plan for the money that is available to Kenyans.
Your budget is 4.8 trillion shillings.
It is about our money, not.
Bwana Kagombe.
This is not William Ruto's money.
Bwana Kagombe, you're looking at discussing a budget estimate of about 4.9 trillion shillings. We do not have that money.
And I agree with you. But let me ask you something, Indimuli. Who is willing to sacrifice their roads? Who is willing to sacrifice the teachers in their school? Who is willing? I mean, it is us. These are the needs that have been placed on the government table by us. It is we who want roads, necessity. It is we who want to create, it is we who want teachers in schools. It is we as Kenyans who want government to spend.
Even when we can't afford it.
Electricity. It is us. We are not spending 4.8 trillion on Uganda. We are spending it on Kenyans. It is Kenyans' needs. When we go to parliament, we are told we represent and we represent the needs of the people. So I'll tell you, in Gatundu South, I have roads that I want done. I'm not willing to say, okay, please don't do this road ABCD, save the money. Nobody is willing to do that.
Isn't that irresponsible leadership?
Do not connect electricity to my people. Nobody is willing to say, do not build these classes. Nobody is willing to do that.
Bwana Kagombe, you gave the example of a family where you go with a salary and you budget for what you have. But you say that as long as you're not willing as a representative not to have a road, then you should insist on having it when there's clearly no money for it. Isn't that irresponsible leadership?
I want you to understand this, Fred. I'm a member of parliament. We have 290 constituencies. We have needs that we come and present. So I'm ask Mbai whether he is willing to tell his people to forego the roads that they want done in Nakuru, and so that we reduce the budget.
All right. Thank you. Allow me to no. There's an order here. Allow me to thank the caller, Gigi Kagombe, MP Gatundu South. But he was supposed to be a member of this panel, but he has joined us via phone call. But the question is, and I know you would want to challenge some of what he said, the question is, our problem appears to be an issue of expenditure. We do not have the money, but we're insisting on spending.
Fred.
Fred, expenditure. I'm just add into this.
Fred, let me tell you where the problem is. I want to tell Kenyans watching us today, the kind of capacity of leaders you send to the National Assembly and Senate is very important. Capacity of thinking. People send you to reason. You cannot have that kind of reasoning, honestly, as an elected member, because we are done. If these are the kind of people we have in parliament, we are finished. We just close that Taga's house, wait for elections next year. Why? You can't come and tell me, Fred, that everybody wants a road. So we go living beyond our means. We borrow more. Where do you leave the next generation? If this government goes home, you're going to leave us in shit. So what I'm saying, we have to plan well. This is the amount of money we have. And I can tell you, if there's one thing coming up, Fred, we have to have a balanced budget this year. Why? What you do, there are other ways, which I agree. PPP, for example, I have read the act severally. Is one way of putting more money where it's not exchequer money. The problem is corruption, private interest.
All right.
We do Reload Mau Summit. Uhuru comes and does a very good thing of 160 whatever billion. Then people come in, they want their own companies within the PPP, private people in government because they have the power, right? So you mess the whole idea. Today, who knows what's going on in Bomas? Nobody knows. Taranta. 100 billion. This is the problem. In short, if we remove the corruption from this budget, we can save that 1 trillion and get enough money.
There's an issue of starting wrong, that your budget is already beyond what you can afford.
That is why I wanted to correct you, Fred. But when you say that our problem is expenditure, yes. But another big problem we have in this country is corruption. Whether it's budgeted, whether it's sporadic, whether it's runway corruption,
PPP corruption, everything.
I don't know how we want to describe it. It is a corruption that we have in this country. And I said, TISA has given a very elaborate report about people's budget. Sir, I wish you could have presented that in a manner that you can to educate the public. They're saying that 800 billion, is there 800 billion shillings? Are lost each and every year. And I asked you, Fred, as a moderator and someone who is keen on getting the public to understand, do the value of that kind of money lost? And when you do the value of it, for example, let's just say that, okay, we are losing 800 billion, let's say 500 billion per year, and do what that can do to transform this country.
Lots.
The things Gabriel is mentioning, that's why he's not in this set today, because we are going to ask him, do you know the value of what we are losing in corruption? We could not have said about roads. We could not have said about roads. We could be talking about other things. Do you know what that can do in the number of hospitals we can have in this country? You know what that can do to the public infrastructure, critical infrastructure, to the education, you know, they're asking about how do we subsidize fuel. It is through that that we can have. They're asking how do you do zero-rated budget. It is through that you can finance that budget and avoid a deficit.
Because with the way we are approaching this discussion is that the budget making process is just a list, a wish list. That whatever I dream I need, I may want 7 roads in my constituency, just put them on the list. Where's the money coming from? We don't know. But should that be the way to approach a budget making process?
Thank you. And this should not be the way you do a budget. Right now, World Bank and other reports have indicated that even our debt levels, we are in distress. And I am worried when I hear now the people we have entrusted in managing our resources telling us that we have to borrow and do these things because we are not willing to trade off. Last week I was in Senegal, and we were trying to work with the government of Senegal to sort out their debt problem. And the difference between what we have in Kenya and Senegal is in Senegal we had members of parliament, the prime minister, everybody sitting with technocrats and asking, how do we sort out this problem? The first thing is acknowledging that there is a problem. In this country, we have not acknowledged that we have a problem with debt, and that is why the budget that I have seen going to parliament has already a deficit of over 1 trillion, and most of that money is going to be borrowed domestically, about 890 billion. That means anybody who wants to go take a loan to expand your business, you will not have that opportunity because you'll be competing with government. One of the principles in the PFM Act in terms of how we do our budget is any borrowing is supposed to go to development. Already, our development expenditure is around 790 billion. But what we are borrowing is in excess of 1 trillion, actually 1.1 trillion. And I think, in my view, it is likely to go higher as we go into implementing the budget. So that tells you, prima facie, that budget is not balanced. It doesn't even agree with our PFM principles. So if I was a member of parliament, that would be the first question that I ask. Does it align with the 9 principles of public finance that we have in Article 201? If it doesn't, then as leaders, it is our obligation to say, we need all these roads, but we cannot do all of them this year. Let us suspend some of them. Let us have, and in Kenya we produce what is called a medium-term budget, where we plan for the next 3 years. The other bigger problem that we have with this budget is the fact that even the way we have estimated our revenues is wrong from the word go. In my view, we look at the economic survey that was released, I think 2 or so weeks ago. It places our overall GDP, everything that we produce as a country, at 17.6 trillion. If we were to sell everything that we produce in a year. But now, the amount that has been used to estimate the revenues that we are likely to get in the next fiscal year is over 20 trillion Kenya shillings. So that means that we can only achieve the 2.9 ordinary revenue, that is from taxes, if our economy is going to grow at around 15%. What we've seen is our economy is only growing at 4.6% as of last year. Looking at the challenges we are having, what we were discussing with fuel prices and inflation, I am not a prophet, but it is only likely to come down, maybe to a number that is below 4.6. What is being targeted here is 5%, meaning from the word go, the numbers that we have from our revenue estimation is wrong. Now, when you now proceed now to the expenditures, now that is where now we have bigger problems, and we've seen the sort of allocations we are having to some of these offices. And to answer the question that you had asked, from our end as TISA, we have been with this process from the beginning. We started discussing these numbers from when the budget review and outlook paper came out in September of last year. We were available to present, and we even presented our submissions to the sector working group process when we had the public hearings happening in November last year. When the budget policy statement was released in February, we actually said from the word go that one, the fiscal deficit that we were proposing that time was not reasonable. The revenue estimates that we had were not reasonable, but we have seen now from the estimates that we have all the submissions that we've been making along the way, and we can make these submissions available. In any case, they are on our website, of what we suggested that this is a problem, and we are going to be preparing a budget that is not realistic. And if you ask me, if we proceed with this budget as is, by the time we close the next financial year in June of next year, our deficit will have closed the 1.4 trillion mark.
Wow. I'm told Gigi Kagombe is back online. Bwana Kagombe, have you been listening to this?
Yes, and I agree with the sentiments that we need to live within our means. But let me ask you something. We must change. This problem is deeper than we think. It is not as superficial as we think, that we just sit here, and say, now the people who are representing us, I hear by saying the thing that he's saying about the caliber of people who represent us. But first of all, you need to understand that elections are done by the people of Kenya. It is those people who've given the power. That's number one. Number two, we must get to a deeper conversation about how we shall live within our means, because it is true. If we do a budget that is extra, that is beyond what we can afford to do from our taxes, then we will have to finance that budget from borrowing, which we have finished now. We have closed the window. We cannot borrow anymore. So the only thing to do is that we as a people, we as Kenyans, politicians or no politicians, must start having this conversation. How do we reduce this 1 trillion?
You've had this conversation for the last
hospitals, whether it is medication, whether it is devolution, whether it is
You've had this conversation since September, because the budget making process is purely in the National Assembly. This is a conversation, but towards the tail end, you appear comfortable to proceed with the budget estimate of 4.9 trillion shillings. Yet we know there's no money. What does that say about the National Assembly?
It is not about the Assembly. The National Assembly represents the people. It is the people. You don't take this 4 trillion like a figure that has been picked from anywhere. It is Fred Indimuli saying that we need a hospital on Kiambu Road. It is about the other person saying we need ABCD. We need teachers. We need, these are the needs of the people. We only represent the people. We do not, you wonder at times as a member of parliament, do you go and say what your people have told you? Why do we do public participation? Because you want to hear what the public is saying. What are the people saying? When I go to Gatonde, the people are saying we want a hospital here. We want a class here. We want a road here. We want ABCD. And I bring those issues to parliament. So I am asking, who is willing to say, okay, please forget our road for the moment, just forgo it, forgo this hospital here, forgo this ABCD. Who is willing to do that? We must be honest with each other. Friends.
Right.
We can't just keep saying it is us. Ask your members of the panel there. They are telling you Ask them today what they have told their members of parliament, what they want. They have put all these needs on them. We have put these needs on the economy.
All right.
So who do you want to finance? It is me. I mean, it is me and you and the other person who are saying that we want ABCD. We want subsidy on fuel. We want, when you say, I want to drive from point A to B, but I do not want to pay this much. I want to pay. Yesterday, you saw the conversations that are going on. People are saying we want the government to give us 48 shillings per litre of the fuel that we consume, right? Where do you want that money to come from? Who will pay this money?
All right.
You know, budget is not a figure that is just put. It is the needs that we've placed on the table. It is we. We are saying we want subsidy on fuel. We're saying we want subsidy on fertilizer. We're saying we want these roads done. We're saying all these are the things that we have put on the economy, and these are the needs that we have.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, Bwana Kagombe. That's Gigi Kagombe via way of phone, MP Gatundu South. Just before we wrap up, I need to take an update from Nakuru. Michael Chalo. Mike Chalo is on standby. How is Nakuru this morning, Mike?
Thank you so much, Indimuli, from Nakuru CBD, the main stage. All systems are back in place, unlike yesterday and the day after. The day before yesterday, the matatu system, public transport systems are back, and you can see that the town is now crowded. The noisy town that we are used to is back in action, and majority of the shops are also open, unlike yesterday and the day before yesterday. And I'm surrounded by Kenyans who are willing to tell me maybe how have they been coping with the protests for the last 2 days, and maybe what is their view after the agreement that came along with the Matatu Owners Association and the government, a 1-week agreement which will be reviewed after that. Ukianza na majina yako, tuambie, utaangalia upande huu, utuambie wewe unaitwa nani na unafanya kazi gani, pengine kwa maandamano ambao wamekuwa siku 2, umekuwa ukiishi vipi?
Aya, kwa majina yangu naitwa Brian, nafanya na Nagri Service hapa hivi town Nakuru CBD. So kwangu mimi naona kama hii maandamano kuna fenye imetufinya, but naona fenye mafuta imetufinya si vizuri vile. Lakini mimi naona kama hii mafuta apunguze, lakini naona kama, lakini hata mimi sipunguzi, Ruto si mbaya, ako sawa.
Maelewano ambayo yamesemekana kuwa yatafanyika kwa wiki moja, pengine mapendekezo yako ni gani baada ya hiyo wiki moja?
Hii wiki moja tu kuburudika vizuri, lakini naona kama hiyo wiki na bado tutafinyika kidogo na hii mafuta fenye iko juu kidogo. Ilikuwa naomba tu apunguze ama tuone fenye atafanya. Sawa.
Pengine kwa siku 2 ambazo kulikuwa na maandamano, wewe kama mkazi na mfanyabiashara umeathirika vipi?
Mimi kama siku 2 Mwanza sijaweza kulala. Sijaweza kukula na kulala walai. Ruto, mimi naomba kama ni mafuta unaweza kutupunguzia. Kama sisi wananchi wa Kamagera hapa Kenya tunaumia sana na mafuta. Kuna shida sana na ni one term sahi.
Sawa, asante sana. Pengine kwa maoni yako, unapendekeza nini kuhusu bei za mafuta na siku 2 ambazo kumekuwa na maandamano, umesurvive aje?
Nashukuru sana, imekuwa gumu. Wengi wetu hapa kwa stage tunategemea daily money, na sasa ile hakuna usafiri, wengi mabeba, makondakta, madriver hatuna kazi. Alafu cha pili ninataka niulize, hiyo mapendekezo viongozi wa magari walituambia, hiyo breakthrough walipata, after hii 1 week watakuwa wamepunguza mafuta ama wametupia grace period ndio tena waturudishe kwa street, ama kuna kitu negotiation imeendelea? Ningetaka nipendekeze serikali yetu, hizi breakthrough mkuje tu clean, mtuambie tumefanya hivi, kutupia 1 week tena turudi kwa street, hakuna tofauti. Sina nataka mabadiliko, either tuambiwe mafuta imeshuka ama haijashuka. Kama stakeholders wetu wako na mipango na hii serikali, watuambie tu, wasikule pesa pale high level, alafu hapa chini tungoje 1 week turudi tena tusote vile tulikuwa tumesota sikuta. Hiyo ndo maoni yangu.
Asante sana. Pengine niweze kuungana na mwingine, wewe kama mkazi wa jiji hili, unafanya na hii kampuni ya Molo Line, pengine wewe kama chairman, hali imekuwaje ya usafiri kwa hizo siku 2 ambazo zimepita? Mmeathirika vipi? Na sasa hii system zimerudi, pengine bei ya magari ikoaje?
Sasa iko hivi, wamejina hiyo John Maina Kamau kwa majina. Sasa hii serikali kama inatupima akili, sababu huwezi ongeza mafuta hote utoe 10 bob. Na hii wakubwa wetu niliona kama walipigwa ngume ya tu
Bei ya magari sasa iko aje mpaka sasa hivi?
Bidi abiria afinyike zaidi. Itaongeza kama nilikuwa nipisha bidi bei yangu kama kwenda hapa Naivasha itabidi nilipisha 300 ama 350 ndio gari iweze kubalance mafuta. Juu sasa hivi nikilipisha ile bei ya kawaida hiyo gari yangu iweze saidika bado. Nanishika. Hey.
Asante sana. Fred, umesikia the systems are back, but the fare still the fare hikes are still on. Umesikia kuwa kutoka hapa kwenda Naivasha it was about 150. Sasa they are paying 300 shillings because of the price of fuel. Despite the 1 week grace agreement which was enacted, they still have to pay more here in Nakuru. We're still following up what will be happening, Fred, and of course in our subsequent bulletins we'll be updating our next anchors what will actually be happening here in Nakuru City, Fred.
Thank you so much, Mike Chalo, our reporter in Nakuru, just bringing us up to speed with what we call now return to normalcy. But is it? Because many commuters are saying they've had to pay double the usual bus fare. And this is across the country. So the pain still remains despite the fact that the matatu strike was called off yesterday. I want to give my panelists about 60 seconds each for your parting shot. Dr. Mbaye, you've given us things to look forward to next week. You say kutakuwa na mpango tofauti.
The issue of the finance bill, the issue of the budget, we are going to be working on it together and present something. And of course, we hope in the next 1 or 2 days we are going to come together, get all the stakeholders, because you can see, I mean, what we wanted to prevent is a fare hike. It's already there because people are arguing as we wait. As a matatu operator, I cannot go back to my pocket to cater for the increase. So we are back to where we were. It's so sad. It's so painful for the people, and we want to see what you're going to do. But I want to finish by saying what Mheshimiwa said. It's so unfortunate, and I can tell you this, Fred. The system, the way it is being created, why many MPs are in 2 term, they will tell you silently, you know, Mbaye, I have to go beg the president for a project. This is exactly what we are saying we don't want. Okay. This worship of an individual, when national resources should be distributed across, we remove that kind of begging and all that kind of worshiping one person. That is why we are saying, please, guys, we must need serious and progressive leadership next year. We cannot joke around with the people. He is taking the burden back to the people. So the people, kindly, I want to urge you, be very careful. Get the person with capacity to go and think and bring solutions to the national government and being a bit independent. I'm ashamed that he can go to Senegal to advise the government of Senegal, sit down with the prime minister and people who are willing to learn, yet he cannot be reasoned in his own country. This is a shame we have in this country.
All right, Daniel Rogo.
A zero-rated budget is very possible. And Honorable Kagombe has called and asking how are we going to do this and who is willing to do this. Trade-offs. I think he was talking about trade-offs. It is quite possible for us as a country to cut on the cost and deal with corruption and get enough resources that we want for both our expenditure and for development. I think this is very possible. And I'm looking forward, we can have said, the Honorable Chief Justice David Maraga has been very clear on what to do for this country. It's just to deal with those who are corrupt and get the money to where it belongs. So I think moving forward, and probably with our colleagues, is to look at could it be possible for us to mobilize towards engagement on the budgeting processes, and especially targeting where the buck stop. I think Parliament should equally be put into task. And if possible, I think is for people to present a petition to that Parliament and warn them that we are seeing them, they're already captured, and in pending June that we are marking the commemoration. So I think that would be very important. But propose policy advice that, Fred, we can cut the cost of our expenditure.
All right.
Wastage within the parliament, embark on austerity measures, and engage the public. Young people must now be engaged and get themselves in the budgetary public participation process. This is very important. We have responsibilities, but we also have an obligation.
Finally, the expert, the economist.
Thank you, Fred, and my co-panelist. But it is important for all stakeholders, from government to those in the matatu industry, to remember that at the end of the day, we are all serving Kenyans. And what should be at the center of everything we do is the welfare of Kenyans. And therefore, when now we are seeing matatu prices have doubled, we only expect that things will get from bad to worse in terms of our food prices, everything, because everything relies on fuel costs. And therefore, all the decisions that we are going to take, whether it is the political class, that is the government and the matatu sector, we should focus on the welfare of Kenyans. Finally, as Kenyans, we should get more involved in our budget making process. Let us ensure that where our money is going, it's going towards areas that benefit the nation and not just a few individuals, to ensure that we cut our clothes according to our size. Our debt levels are unsustainable, and that is what is pushing our taxes and our cost of living.
All right. Thank you so much, Alexander Rithi, head of programs at TISA, and Daniel Orogo, political analyst, as well as Dr. Peter Mbaye, Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs, DCP. We'd also like to thank Gigi Kagombe and Piga Tundu South, who joined us via phone link in discussing these issues. Of course, the fuel crisis plus the budget-making process, where we're saying, wapi wa Kenya, you need to get involved in this discussion, and the time is now. After the break, we switch gears and talk matters relationship. The question today is, it's not a question. We're talking about fate or love, when love turns deadly. Of course, you've seen the number of fatalities linked to romantic interactions, and that is what we'll be discussing today. A reminder of the big conversation we'll be having tonight here on TV47, Matters Finance Bill as well. We'll be having a town hall, and the chief guest will be Honorable John Buddy, CS National Treasury. We'll be discussing issues to do with taxes, cost of living, jobs, and the future. This will start at 6:30 and go all the way to 9 p.m. You don't want to miss this big discussion. Also, to get to understand what's happening with the budget-making process, and especially the finance bill of 2026. All right, my name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.